Bonjour, je suis très heureux de vous retrouver sur ce plateau de House of Talent TV pour cette nouvelle émission de Partage ton français. Chers amis, le français est partagé sur les 5 continents. Il y a une idée géniale qui a été soufflée à nos oreilles, bien sûr, par le président de la République de France, M. Emmanuel Macron, lors de son discours à l'Institut de France le 20 mars 2018. Il parlait de donner l'espace, de donner la chance à tout le monde de pouvoir apprendre la diversité de la langue française. Voilà pourquoi nous, ici en Ouganda, avec l'appui de l'ambassadeur de France en Ouganda, M. Julamani Anambusu, nous sommes en train de promouvoir la langue de Molière, la langue de Césaire, Aimé Césaire, la langue française. Et voilà pourquoi, encore une fois de plus, nous avons créé les plateformes de partage ton français. Ça veut dire quoi? Le français que tu as appris à l'école, à l'université, même à l'Alliance française, ne garde ça pas seulement pour toi-même, partage avec ta famille, avec ton entourage. Tous ensemble, au jour à venir, nous allons parler le français. Merci, je ne suis pas seul, je suis avec mon invité d'aujourd'hui. Elle est ici pour partager le français avec nous. Elle s'appelle José. Et je pense qu'elle a une bouche, elle peut parler d'elle-même. Bonjour José.
Bonjour Patrick.
Comment ça va?
Ça va bien, merci, toi?
Ça va très bien, merci. Comment va la santé?
Je vais bien.
Très bien José, je vois ton français. You are improving in French.
Oui, j'aime beaucoup la langue française.
Yes.
Parce que c'est la langue internationale.
Merci. Et c'est la langue des opportunités.
Oui.
José, est-ce que tu peux te présenter en français? Can you present yourself in French?
Oui.
Properly in French?
Oui.
And you're going to go deeper in English.
Bonjour tout le monde. Je m'appelle Joséphine. Je suis styliste avec José Maison de Cristo. Je suis ougandaise et j'habite à Kampala. J'aime beaucoup la langue française parce que c'est la langue des opportunités.
Oui.
Je suis contente d'être ici. Merci.
Merci José. Tu es contente d'être ici.
Oui.
Tu sais, nous sommes où? À la chaîne YouTube House of Talent TV.
Oui.
Merci beaucoup. José, je vais demander, comment êtes-vous tombée amoureuse de la langue française? How did you fall in love in French language?
J'aime beaucoup la langue française parce que c'est la langue des opportunités et c'est la langue internationale.
So when did you start to learn French?
That was in 2019 when I was given the opportunity from the French embassy in Uganda. Actually, that is through the French government because the French embassy in Uganda is here because of the French government. So I was given a scholarship from the French government through the French embassy in Uganda, and I was taken to France in Paris to study French. My first French class was in Paris, and then when I came back to Uganda, I was given another opportunity at Alliance Française.
Okay.
Oui.
Tell me, who was your first teacher? Your first teacher who taught you French?
My first teacher for French was Blaise.
At Alliance Française?
Oui, at Alliance Française.
Okay.
Oui.
Can you tell us, est-ce que tu peux nous dire, qu'est-ce que la francophonie? What is a francophonie for you, according to you?
A francophone to me are people who speak French, the different countries that speak French, and also the French culture, and then the way of living. To me, that is francophone all over the world.
Merci beaucoup. Dans le monde de ton travail, quelle est la valeur ou la nécessité du français? I mean, in your world, in your industry world, what the value or the necessity of French?
La langue française, c'est la langue des opportunités. C'est la langue des opportunités. Oui.
Go deeper in English.
French is an international language. It's a language of opportunities.
Yes.
In the different countries all over the world where there are French speakers or Francophone countries, for you to do business, you must know the language.
Exactly.
So for me to do business in Congo, I must know the language. To do business in France, to do business in Senegal, all those countries are French-speaking countries.
Yeah.
So for me to be able to do business as an international designer, creative designer, I must first of all know the language.
Exactly.
And also being an international language, it helps you to network with different people and socialize. Because if you know the language, you're able to communicate, because it's a language of communication all over. And then also, there is a lot of intermarriages. So you can't say, I'm a Ugandan, I'm going to only get married to a Ugandan. If I get married to a Frenchman, if I get married to a Congolese, I should be able to learn the language for easier communication. So it's very important everywhere you go, because it's not only English that is important for communication.
In the same idea, I saw some picture. I saw you with the ambassadors. Tell us, first of all, it was Stephanie. I saw her with Chitendi. By the way, even me, guys, you can see the way I'm smart is because of who? Jose House of Creation. So, people, if you want to be smart like me, please come and be designed by Jose. So, tell us about those pictures. I saw you with the ambassadors. Can you explain one by one? Okay.
I've designed, as a creative designer at Jose House of Creations, I've been able to be privileged to design different ambassadors. I've designed Ambassador Stéphane Rivoire before she left Uganda. She was the ambassador of France to Uganda. I've designed her with different outfits. I've designed the current French ambassador in Uganda, Ambassador Amana Nombozu. I've designed his outfit even for his family. I've designed Ambassador Deborah Malak of American Embassy in Uganda before she left Uganda. I've designed her. I've designed Ambassador Anna Radotiramet, the ambassador of Iceland Embassy in Uganda. She left. She's now in Paris. That's where she's stationed for a mission. But when she was still in Uganda, I designed her. I've designed Ambassador Susan Eki, the ambassador of Norwegian Embassy in Uganda. So I've designed different ambassadors and expatriates and diplomats because of our creativity and the way we embrace the Africanity. Because as an African designer, I don't want to be lost anywhere designing what other designers do. I want to embrace who I am. That's why I have a fashion show coming up called Back to My Roots, which means I have to embrace being an African designer, a Ugandan designer, and for people to know me for who I am. So that's why on the 3rd September, which is next week, on Saturday, 3rd September, we'll be having a fashion show with French music, because it is supported by Alliance Française Kampala and then the French Embassy in Uganda and Total Energies. So I want us to embrace being who we are and then own it and appreciate the fact that we are Africans. I'm not going to be Louis Vuitton, so I have to tell people to be to appreciate who I am and who they are as Africans.
Merci, Jose. I saw also one picture, you with the Bobby one.
Yes. So in the video of Charenga, His Excellency Bobby Wine, I designed, as Joseph of Creations, we designed all the outfits that he wore, even the cast that he had in that video. That was a very big breakthrough for me as a creative designer, because, I mean, he's a big star in Uganda. So designing him in that video really added some more volume, and, you know, it spoke a lot more about my creativity. And that's when people started recognizing my talent,
Merci, José. Est-ce que tu peux nous donner les noms des 2 ou 3 couturiers, les grands couturiers de France? 2 or 3 names of big designer fashion people in France.
Yves Saint-Laurent.
Yves Saint-Laurent.
Yves Saint-Laurent.
Yes.
Stéphane Bianca.
Exactly.
Pierre Cardin.
Pierre Cardin. Oui. Merci beaucoup. Quelles sont les couleurs préférées des Ougandais? What the color? Because the French people, they like black and blue. So, black and blue, I can say noir et bleu, parce que nous sommes en train de partager le français. So, which color, favorite color, Ugandans like you as a designer? En français,
Let me first say in English, then you help me in French.
Okay.
Uganda, and our flag has black.
Yes.
How does it black in French?
Black, c'est noir.
C'est noir.
Oui.
Et red.
Rouge.
Rouge.
Ok. Merci beaucoup.
Français, oh, oh, oh. C'est l'Alliance française. La maison des profs, des Français, c'est l'Alliance française. Une fille m'a posé une question, pourquoi prendre le français alors que je lui parlais de la radio.
Merci beaucoup. Josephine, what inspired you to join the fashion industry? And when did you start Jose House of Creation business? Tell us.
What inspired me to join the fashion industry is my passion for fashion. So I love fashion so much. So before I was in media hosting a fashion program, but I wanted to do more than just being a TV presenter, but be able to do hands-on and more hands-on. So that's when that's what inspired me. And then I joined the fashion industry practically in 2017 when I quit my TV job. And I decided to settle into entrepreneurship as a fashion designer.
Yes. How have you been able to establish yourself as a successful creation designer?
First of all, my creativity in the fashion industry, it's more than what other people do. Most people are just fashion designers. But I say I am a creative designer because I do more than just clothes. If you check through the different kind of works that we do. So that's what makes me different, and that with that I've been able to establish myself and be able to design different people. Also networking. So I do a lot of networking with different people when I go to events, and that sells me and my products, and the uniqueness and the passion I put in what I do gives it that unique touch that people find my work quite different from what other people do.
The way you are talking, I can see you love your work.
Yes, I do love it a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, because you can inspire many people also to love what they're doing. When and how was your turning point?
My turning point came when I got that scholarship from the French embassy that saw me fly from Uganda. It was my first time in Europe. So going to France, staying there for that time, and everything was paid for by the French government. Like, imagine everything being paid for and you're not spending a single penny. That was my turning point. And also being able to get the entrepreneurship seed funding from the American embassy in Uganda. That is another government, American government, to finance my business. That was another big turning point in my life. So I treasure that a lot in my life.
Thank you so much. You are mostly in the French networks. Take us through that journey. Especially that day is going to, next month, what you say about that connection between fashion and the French language.
My network with the French community comes in through mostly the French embassy in Uganda, because I'm a beneficiary of the French government through the French embassy in Uganda. So that has opened many opportunities for me, and the ambassador has been promoting Ambassador Joe Amana Nombozo. I say merci beaucoup pour l'opportunity. He has supported me so much through the embassy and personally, because I designed the ambassador. Even right now, he's in Paris. He traveled last week, but he left me with an order of almost 10 outfits that I'm designing for him. So that means a lot for me. And also through the French embassy, that whenever there is something, he makes sure they reach out to me to design a number of things that they want. Like during the time of COVID, I designed the branded masks for the embassy, and that is an opportunity that was so big for me in business. And also the fact that we have a fashion show that is coming up. My passion for French and the French language has made me be able to get exposed to different opportunities. That's why we have a fashion show coming up on 3rd September at Alliance Française Kampala, which is themed back to my roots. So I want to embrace myself as a fashion designer who is an African, and also it goes ahead and says fashion meets French songs. So it's fashion, which is me as a Ugandan and an African designer, but then there is a French part whereby people are going to learn a bit more about French, not just coming for an ordinary fashion show. So I'm fusing the two together because of the love I have and the gratefulness I have for the French government for having promoted me, giving me the platform to be the designer I am today. Everyone is saying Jose up here, but it's this government that has pushed me and promoted me and given me the opportunity. And also, I want to say thank you to House of Talent TV for the opportunity for hosting me.
Thank you to Eddie.
To Eddie, okay,
Eddie, le professeur de français.
Yes.
He's going to become a professor, French
the
professor.
CEO bench. Thank you so much for this opportunity, because this means a lot to me. The platform you're giving me, there is an audience that follows Eddie Okilia and the CEO bench, that he's giving me this opportunity for you to be able to know more about Jose and Jose House of Creations. It means a lot to me. I cannot take that for granted. And also to Patrick.
Merci à toi. Last word.
Yes.
Give us a message, because many people are following. I want you to face the camera. Tell those ladies that are thinking for them to succeed. They just want to get married. They just want some people to connect them, to push them, to send them mobile money or Western Union. Can you give them a message about what is coming from your heart? Motivate them.
In life, to be a successful person, you have to first of all discover who you are, work hard, and even when you face challenges, keep going, don't give up. Everything good comes with challenges, and you have to be passionate about what you're doing. And there is a saying which says, if you're doing what you don't love, then you're wasting your time. Discover who you are, what do you love, give it your best shot, and you'll be successful. And also to everyone, I want to encourage every single Ugandan, every single person that is watching me, please go and learn French. It is an international language. It is a language of opportunities. And just like I am today, I've been able to get these opportunities because I have an international language, which is French. And a special thank you to House of Talent TV, Edo Kilia. Thank you so much. I salute you for this opportunity.
Merci les amis, nous sommes à la fin de notre émission. Nous disons un grand merci à l'Alliance française de Kampala avec notre directeur Patrice Jules, et merci à notre ambassadeur Jules Armand Nyamboussou, et aussi merci à Eddie, le professeur de français. He's the one who blessed us with this wonderful place for us to share French. Me and my guests, we are going to say together, Partage ton français. Guys, send us your number. We are going to put you in our platform, WhatsApp. You are going to interact with people. You are going to practice your French. We are here to promote French in Uganda. Vive la francophonie en Uganda. Ciao.
Baristry is not like something that you're going to learn and maybe at a point, yes, you may not get a job immediately, but it's a skill that you have in your head, and you can actually invent and start your own business. That's the beauty about it. Like, the more you get exposure, the more knowledge you get from different places. So for any barista out there, any young man out there who is really lacking, and they feel like, should I try it? Come on, it's time. The coffee industry is growing big in Uganda and out. Baristas are really respected people, not like before. So please join. It is really a very good adventure. Come on, down at Blue Press. We are ready for you.
Even people are stuck in their own ways. For people who have had a chance to, say, work out of the country, you're dealing with people from different backgrounds, different cultures. Their view of the world is different. You cannot change that. The best you can do is get into that space and find a way of navigating through that. Okay. So I don't believe that what I've learned necessarily is going to go into, say, a big organization like Stanbic and change it.
Yeah.
If it may guide me along the way in terms of how to navigate, in terms of how to influence the leaders of that organization, but not necessarily kick the front door and change everything. In fact, I think that's disastrous because you may just end up going backwards. So I think for me is allow yourself to learn from the environment and then adapt and change from within.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of time we see people, Daniel, who go into organization and just start changing, and you find people flying from this organization to another and says, man, the new boss was come.
Correct.
I can't stay there.
Absolutely.
And this happened.
Absolutely.
Is it they themselves who are a problem, those who are running away, or actually the bosses come and want to change everything? Have you ever been in an organization and people have viewed you like that? And if yes, how were you able to deal with it? If not, had you learned these tricks before going inside there, so that when you arrived, you are more warmer to people than more, cold to other people?
Yeah, I think in most cases where, and we've seen this even in Uganda, where a CEO comes and tries to change everything overnight, and the organization suffers. You lose your talent. The good people leave the company, they go to other organizations. Your numbers start going down. It's a no-brainer. The good ones are the ones who quickly realize, oh, this is different. I need to adapt. I mean, I always hear people who have worked in Tanzania. Tanzanians are different. The way they do things at their pace and how they
shift and move things,
relate among each other is very different.
Yes.
So if you come with your speed and and forcefulness, you'll get a culture shock. They'll edge you out slowly in their nice way. Before you know it, you've left the company. I remember earlier back in our breweries, we had similar people who used to come from South Africa at the time. Because Africa is obviously very fast-paced. It's about push, push, push. And a lot of them suffered. In fact, a time came when they said, you know what, this thing is not working. Let's empower now Ugandans. That's how you guys came through. Yeah.
I am Flavia Luanga. I'm the Human Resources Director for Airtel Uganda. Just been through the roundtable discussion on, how, what is the importance of doing more than one international languages. And we are doing this at Alliance Française. Personally, I believe it's important to know more than one international language. Obviously, most of us speak English, so because it's really known worldwide, pretty much most people will be, English speaking. And personally, I choose, French because it's equally, largely spoken on the African continent, and so we have the, the Anglophone countries, then we also have the Francophone countries. And working at Airtel Uganda, we do have, countries that we operate in Africa, over 13 countries in Africa, and you could say almost 50% of those countries are Francophone countries. So I see there's a lot of value in learning more than one language. And like I said, I will speak more from my point of view, which is to learn the French language. And at a point we go to a situation where the different countries would always reach out to each other to get talent for specific roles in their countries, because there are many reasons, but one of them being that the roles are scarce in the specific country. So many people reached out to us from other Francophone speaking countries and other countries which are Anglophone, but Francophone especially, I felt hurt because I believe we have very good talent at Airtel Uganda, and we do have good talent in Uganda. So with the opportunity of knowing the French language and the fact that you're already a professional, it adds so much more to your life. So, because you will find that if you have so many people who have the capability, you know, how does the employer choose you from the next person? I think French language is a key differentiator. And like again, I said, I'm speaking about Airtel per se, because this is the opportunity I saw. And once I saw that opportunity and I realized, oops, our professionals do not speak French, then that's when I approached Alliance Française, and for 5 years now, they've come through and we've structured some French classes at the place of work. So we have a stream of people coming through at different levels and trying to learn the language. So at least I want my people to be prepared. I want them to be ready so that, you know, when these kind of opportunities come, you know, that they end up to be the preferred, you know, candidates for the jobs, because they already know English and they know it very well. But then, and they are professionals, they're very good at what they do. Now the only challenge is they can't speak French, and the opportunities are there. And I've sent some of my people to the French-speaking countries, but the ones where I've been able to send them are the ones where, you know, there's at least a balance of both French and English. So I've been able to send people to Seychelles, you know. I even have a finance director in Seychelles today, Ugandan, who didn't know any French, but because they sort of, you know, as a country, they've embraced both languages. So it was easy for me for this person to go. They didn't go as a finance director. They went as a financial controller, and today they're a finance director. I've also sent people to Rwanda, you know. And as you probably already know, Rwanda is also now really picking up on the English. So it's important to have at least two national or multinational, international languages. So that's the opportunity I see.
My name is Bujingo Don Patrick. I work with Aloysia Organic Natural Health Products as the Managing Director. And I also work with Macquarie University Business School as the Lecturer of Marketing and the French language. I think firstly, this roundtable on French and employability for me is an opportunity to give a testimony. I'm a product of the benefit of having studied the French language. So I believe this roundtable discussion gives us room to look at the past, where we are, and the future. So it's a very, very strategic discussion. I did get the passion to study the French language. Firstly, I was exposed to this language rather young, not with much interest from myself, but rather the motivations of my teachers, French bread, things like this after class. But then as I went into the higher levels, I started to see the value of this language, the beauty of the language. So for me, the passion was mainly to see that we could fit into this global village. French is a beautiful language, and knowing the language itself exposes us and the opportunities of the world out there.
Raymond Muhechi is my name. I'm a lawyer and a French student at Alliance Française de Kampala. I'm very much interested in French, and I love the French language because of the opportunities it presents to not only my profession, but also to the people I work with. I'm a lawyer, and my work is mostly into international law, as well as in Uganda. I do private practice in Uganda as well, in addition to the international law work I do around the world. And my experience in my international law field has been challenging in the past because of not being able to speak the French language. I've been missing out on several work engagements, and I've also had challenges in some work engagements. Shared some experiences. One I had recently in 2019 in Benin, where I lost a job opportunity with United Nations because I couldn't speak the French language. And when last year I was in France, I was left on a train because I couldn't understand what they were saying on the train, and I missed my stop. So these challenges that I kept facing showed me why I need to learn the French language, why I need to add French to the English language. Not only is it important to my work, but also interacting with the other people around the world. When I saw this program being organized by Alliance Française and the partners on French language and employability, I realized that I must attend this event. Not only is this event going to inspire me to, learning a language requires commitment and inspiration. Not only is this event going to inspire me, but I'll also learn how to maybe to inspire people and also meet the top employers who are going to tell us why the French language is important to them, why they pick out someone with French language as an addition to work in their companies and organizations. And it doesn't matter whatever profession, all professions, engineering, we're seeing journalism, we're seeing the legal practice as well, we're seeing all professions require the French language. And noting that also we're seeing more French countries connecting to East Africa, DRC, Burundi, Rwanda. This program becomes very important for us to really, take on.
I'm Gloria Rodriguez, and I am working with International Organization for Migration. I am the Human HR Resources Officer here in the IOM Uganda. I already mentioned it in the panel or discussion. You see, as International Migration Organization, we are very open to diversity, and our job deploys us in different countries all over the world. So it's important that when you as an IOM staff member get to become an international officer and you're assigned to a certain country and it speaks French, and you have to have that language skills, which is French. And as I mentioned also a while ago, I was surprised that in Africa, the countries speaking French is so many compared to the European part. So that's why we require ourselves to learn a second language or a third language if we can, as much as possible, because you really have to blend in the culture, and language is the key to the culture of the country. So yes, that's why we require them. They have to speak the language where they are supposed to be.
My name is Walimbwa Teddy. I currently work with Stanbic Bank as a consultant in the call center. I've been working so far for 3 years under Stanbic Bank, and proudly to be a member of Alliance Française, the French club. It hasn't been long, but I'm proud to be one of the members. I did French part of my university program, but it was a compulsory course because I was studying with the Missionaries of Africa. So because they have French programs, they have English programs, so I had to do French. So I did French for 3 years during my social sciences bachelor's course. And then they sent me to Congo for 2 months to have an experience in speaking French and listening besides the classwork. And shortly they sent me to Burkina Faso for 4 months, and I did intensive, it was an intensive program, but it was more of past work, like interacting with people, of which it helped me so much, because if I didn't have the knowledge of French, then I wouldn't interact with the people, I wouldn't get information from them, and I would feel it difficult to fit in the community.
I also picked up a lot more from the other speakers. I picked up a lot from the people who are, the students who are seated on the floor. And you see, there's a lot of opportunity. So the question is, why do I have to learn French? For me, the simple answer is, you do not know what you will stumble on. You just don't know. When I hear that, the kind of testimonies that came through, you realize there's, you cannot even put a number to the opportunities. There's so many opportunities. Some we know, some we don't even know, but they are there. So just learn the language.
My name is Magali Losange. I'm the head of courses of Alliance Française Kampala. I would say first of all that was a direct answer to a request we heard a year ago. So a year ago we met with a couple of teachers at Chambogo University, and some of the head teachers asked us, how can you create more awareness on the specific job opportunities offered for people who can speak French? We thought about it. We realized that instead of having French teachers telling them the full story, it would be better for us to meet employers and employees who are already living this idea that with French, you have access to more job opportunities. So this conference was an opportunity to listen directly from the people who hire people speaking French, but also from the people who already speak French and are using this skill for their professional career.
Yes, I think the French language has come in fundamental for me as one, primarily as a French teacher, being a lecturer of the French language in Mackay University Business School, and also being a marketing lecturer. Now, this helps me fuse the experience that I've seen in the French world, because I had a chance to do my master's in France, in one of the top cosmetics brands in the entire world, called L'Oreal. And for me, this was an experience to see the marketing angle at a global perspective. And at the end of the day, I picked this experience to share with my students. And how this also now taps into Aloysia Organic is that we want to tap into this global market. How will you tap into the French market when you do not have any chance to speak the French language, for example? So meaning our products can be able to reach the French-speaking community, the Francophone community in Africa, and this is the future really. Today, this language is becoming an official language in the East African community.
I'll speak, yes, from a human resource, but there's also a business angle that I picked up here. And I was like, okay, this is something I'd never thought about. From a human resource perspective, obviously, like I said, I've seen so many advertisements from the time I started, looking out for a job when I just left university. There's so many adverts I've read and they say French is an added advantage.
Je m'appelle Raymond Muhechi. Je suis avocat international ici à Kampala. Aujourd'hui, prendre employability en langue française. Pour prendre langue française, practice.
I would like to think that the students realize that there are so many opportunities. Usually we think about the most obvious ones, such as, of course, French teachers, translators, but they realize that the French can be this little extra touch. So as long as you have a specific education, French will open more doors for you, but it can come along with so many different skills, and it can be used in so many different sectors. So the main goal of this gathering was to inspire and to put a light on all the different opportunities. From the HR managers, I hope what they realize is that there are already a lot of people who can speak French in Uganda. And on my side, the idea was, okay, how can we do more moving forward?
Je m'appelle Flavia Luanga. Je suis un étudiant de langue française depuis 5 ans. Je suis apprendre avec l'Alliance française, mais je parle un peu de la langue française parce que je suis très occupée avec mon travail. I'm Flavia Luanga. I'm a student of the French language. I study at Alliance Française. I speak very little of the language because I am too occupied with my job. So I intend to start taking up, classes, online classes. I intend to read French written books, and I want to also get into the videos, do movies, simple movies. And then I also want to join the French club here at Alliance Française. So we were sharing quite a bit with Magalé and the director on some of the things they could do, given my experience with, someone who's been loving the language and learning the language. So I shared with him some of the few ideas I had that could probably help, people like myself.
My name is Guy Maza, and I'm the manager of this research center of Alliance Française, which is also called Library, which happened to be the biggest resources center with French and Francophone resources. From when I attended this talk and thoughts, I was very impressed because we had so many people, they came. And when it comes to practice, people ask so many questions about how can we practice the language. And as the manager of Resources Center of Alliance Française, I could relate to those questions because I've been asked so many times by students and also members who want to have opportunities to practice the language. because in Uganda it's the English is predominant, so they don't have so many opportunities to practice outside of their classes. It was a great opportunity for them and also for us to hear from them what they want, the expectation. And from someone who works who work here and also who is always in interaction with members and also students, I would say we have a huge responsibility here in the library, because we have resources, physical resources such as books and also movies, DVDs, and internet, because we provide them with internet. And then we always advise them to use them, to borrow those books, to go home and read. Now we have an online library. You don't have to come here and read from here or to borrow a book from here. We can create an account for you and you go and you practice from home. And then for us, the library provide them with so many resources in French, yes, physical but also online. And also we have activities which help them to practice the French language, such as French Club, which is an opportunity for students and members to share and to speak on different topics in French. So it's time for those student members. They're francophone, they're anglophones, and they meet and they share, they help each other. Yes, and also we have other activities with different purposes, but the main goal is to help them to practice French.
First of all, I would like to say that this is something we hear very often, and that's why we try on ourselves to be more flexible and to really adapt to the schedule of these busy professionals. One of the things we've done is to provide classes online, so someone doesn't have to come to Alliance Française or doesn't have to wait for a teacher to come to their office to learn French. So that's the main innovation, I would say. And then there are also many other ways outside of Alliance Française to take advantage of any little time you have to improve your French. Whether, again, we're talking about watching a movie, it doesn't look like you're learning, but you're actually learning while you're watching a Netflix movie. There are a couple of different apps. I would talk about Duolingo. That's another quick way to practice. So the most important thing is to make sure that you don't give up. Maybe you feel like you're not doing so much, but you're actually doing enough to keep on practicing and being exposed. Of course, classes will help you to get a proper grasp of the language, but as long as you keep on trying to find a way to practice, you're good.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Magali Losange, je suis la directrice pédagogique de l'Alliance Française de Kampala, et l'une des choses qui m'a le plus marquée aujourd'hui, ça a été le sourire du public, l'enthousiasme du public en découvrant toutes les opportunités offertes à ceux qui parlent le français. Donc merci à tous ceux qui sont venus aujourd'hui au Talks and Talks French and Employability. I say that one of the things that I really enjoyed was to see the smiles and the enthusiasm of the public, who was able to discover all the opportunities offered for people who can speak French. Thank you very much to everyone who came to the conference today.
Are you a leader? Do you know what leadership is? Do you understand change management or even transformation? What are you doing to change your life? A lot of people don't know what to do and how to do it, and how to go about the situation they find themselves in. And quite often, so many people are confused. But on the CEO bench, we strive to give you opportunity to be able to learn from those who are doing it well, those who have done it before, those who are doing it, those who are on the rise to the top, and those already on the top, and as well as those who are on the top coming down. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Edio Killer and it's a Friday. Welcome to the CEO Bench. Of course, this week we bring you a very interesting guest, the third female on the show, and we will be talking leadership, change management and transformation. And of course, in today's rapidly changing world, learning to of course lead and design our organization to read the turbulence of time that comes with leadership challenges and change management is key in us making proper decisions that will take our organization forward, but also to allow us, manage impact of what we're trying to do. So today on the show, this program brings you Francis Birungi Odong, who is an executive director of UKOBAC. I'm yet to understand how to pronounce the entire word from her, but Francis, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine, I'm very well, thank you.
And welcome to the CEO Bench.
Thank you, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So, in a nutshell, who is Francis?
So, who is Francis? So, Francis is Francis Birungi Odong, as you said. I am, what should I say? I work in UKOBAC, like you said. UKOBAC in full, it's a mouthful indeed. It's Uganda Community-Based Association for Women and Children's Welfare. I am married to one man. We have 4 children. I was born in Kenya, but I'm Ugandan. My parents were exiled in Kenya for a period of time. So we are a family of 7. And 6 of us were born in Kenya, and then we moved back to Uganda. So I have been partly raised in Kenya and partly raised in Uganda. So basically, that's who I am. I don't know if that's sufficient.
Yes. It's always difficult for people to say who they are and what they stand for.
Yes.
So Francis, welcome. About you as an individual. How did you end up where you are in what you're doing today? Since you said you were born in Kenya because your parents were exiled in Kenya, why did you choose not to stay in Kenya than to return to Uganda and to end up to what you're doing today?
Yeah, really that was not my choice, that was my parents' choice. I'm sure them living in Kenya was not by choice, it was because of the circumstances at that time. And so when everything settled down, they chose to return to Uganda, and we were taken to schools in Uganda. Unfortunately, when I came into Uganda, when we came back as a family, I only spoke Swahili. I couldn't speak anything else. So getting into school, it was very difficult because, of course, in Uganda, we don't speak Swahili. It was very difficult to speak, to speak English, to speak the local languages in Uganda. So I had to go backwards. So many times in the classes as I was progressing, I was usually the older one in the class because I had to go back, a number of steps. But it was okay. Somehow I was fitting in. Did my primary school here in a school called Insuve. Then from there I went to Tororo Girls School for secondary. Finished my secondary, went to Green Hill, did my HSC, then went to university. Where I did a first degree, and while doing actually when I was in my senior 6 vacation, I asked my mom that I wanted to do some voluntary work. I wanted to, to do something other than sitting at home. So she was, at that time, she was working with a non-government organization as well called Forward. And I was taken in as an intern. So I worked there. It really kind of gave me the first experience of working in a civil society organization. They were focusing on work, supporting women to participate in leadership positions and so forth. So it was very intriguing at that age, but it was not yet my time to really, work. I wasn't very sure, but I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do. And for me, it was very empowering seeing what was happening in this organization. And when I went to university, I did social sciences, majoring in sociology. So I think my choice for the university for the course that I took was because of what I saw that was happening in this organization. So I did my sociology course, finished 3 years, and after school I told, again I had a conversation with my parents and told them, you know what, I feel like I want to do the work that I did when I was doing my voluntary work. So do you think you can help to talk to your peers, because they were doing that? My father was in politics, but my mother was doing civil society work. And at that point, I was taken in Ukobak. Yes. As an intern. Yes, so it was immediately after university that I joined Ukobak as an intern. And I started, doing simple work. I was really doing support work in the organization. But I was very eager to learn about what they were doing. It was very interesting, but also the kind of work that they were doing, working with women and children. I thought that was something that was very powerful. I moved to the field with the staff that were in Ukobak at that time, and did, I would do the support work of giving out paper or serving tea or serving, anything that I could be, asked to do. But in the process, I always sat in the classes for the women and the children, and I would look at how the staff were impacting on these lives. It was very interesting to see how people's lives were transforming, from nothing to something. So really, it built, it built my interest. But also I felt that I wanted to know more about how I can contribute in a more meaningful way in this sector.
Wow.
Yes, so I worked there as an intern for some time, and I didn't feel like I wanted to do anything else. To me, it was I had arrived, if I should say.
So basically your mind was corrupted, and this is where I'm going to be.
Yes, I had arrived at that point, because really for me what was very important to me was transformation, was seeing lives of people changing from nothing to something. And the fact that in this environment was showing me that it is possible to contribute in one way or another to change an individual's life. So it exposed me. I came from a background, my parents, I wouldn't say it was a very poor family, so I had not got that exposure. So working in this environment really showed me the reality of the world. I came to see that actually majority of Ugandans were living in poverty, were vulnerable and needed support. So for me, it was fulfilling to work in this organization, and that is how I started my career in Ukobak.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're joining the CEO bench, that right there is getting you into what we call knowing somebody personally, and of course getting into their life. That is Frances is the executive director of Ukobak, and she's on the CEO bench. If you're joining us from anywhere in the world, we're live on Twitter, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and House of Talent /Facebook. Please tell your neighbor and tap your cousins, and this story is going to be a very interesting one. As well as on Twitter, wherever you are, tweet, show, share, retweet, and make sure everybody gets to know what is happening. Frances, I want to just take you straight to this. And in today's changing world, this rapidly changing world, learning to lead and design our organization to read the turbulence of time creatively is critical to our ability to make positive impact. And this television program is about those that are at the top of doing that, or those that are rising up to the top of doing that. And the focus is on transformational change and the implications for the individuals who are in that space as leaders, or in their organizations, or in the culture of the organization, or in our society, depending on what structure that we're in. Your story that you have given in the intro of this interview is very important. But we want to know something more specifically, lining to your organization, which is civil society today. Give us a sneak peek of the life of a woman in that space.
Oh, that's a very good question. The life of a woman in this space is just the same as the life of a woman in any other space. It's not an easy space, especially when it comes to leadership, and when it comes to influencing decisions and also influencing processes in any other institution. So it is not an easy space for a woman. It is a space where a woman has to do something extra or do something more to be able to prove that they are able to do what they should be doing. So I would say that it's the same. It's very competitive. Many times we see that in many civil society organizations, still we find them to be male-headed, and we're having many women, many girls taking up leadership roles in civil society organizations, but it's not an easy task. It's where we have to really prove ourselves that we can lead these organizations to greater heights. And there's a lot that is involved in the civil society organizations. There's leadership in itself, there's management of processes, there's management of the human resource, there's fundraising, there's research. It's a lot that needs to be done, and many times there is a feeling that is too much for a woman because she has other traditional roles that she needs to do as at home. So many times as people are looking for leaders in civil society organizations, the priority is usually given to men because of our society that feels that men have the time, men have the capacity, men have the ability to lead, to take this organization to greater heights. And women, there will be a problem. They will have to go to maternity leave. They have issues. They are too emotional. They have not done the courses that are good enough for leaders to move these organizations to greater heights. So I think it's changing with time, but it's still very difficult for women to take on leadership positions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Francis, I like the journey, and I would want to ask you one more question just before we go into a break.
Yeah.
The leadership journey and the little information about the organization you currently lead. You said you ended up there.
Yes.
Starting into the process of
internship,
and then luckily your mother ended up taking you there, and now you are in that space. We want to know more about this organization. What are the issues that you are working on as you at the moment? Having started there as a child.
Okay.
I will call you as a child because you are
yes,
young.
I was a child. At that time I was probably barely 20, maybe 19.
Yes.
A grown-up child, I should say. So the reason why I say my mother took me there, my mother was one of the founder members of this organization. And she had been in politics before, and then later changed course and decided that she wanted to do something for women and children because that's her passion. So she started this organization. And I admired her for a long time. When I was little, when I was young, my mother used to do a lot of work around mobilizing women to participate in governance processes. And we tagged along as children at home when she went for trainings in communities. And I admired the way she spoke to people, the way she impacted lives. So when she started this civil society organization, this NGO, I asked her, can I come and work with you? Can I support you in this process? And she took me in, but didn't take me in. She was very strict because she gave me a lecture at the beginning and said, okay, I'm taking you in, but you're not any special. You're going to come in as an intern. You're going to make tea for the staff. You're going to type. In those days, they would type. They would handwrite, and then they give you to type so that you can learn. And you're going to it will depend on you on whether you will get a job or not, because I don't hire. I have a board that hires and fires. So I said, okay, I'll take it on. And many times people think that because this was an organization that was started by mother, that it was easy for me. It was actually more difficult for me because I had to prove myself beyond. I had to prove to her. I also had to prove to the board that I can be, I can work here. I am not taking advantage of this. I can do my best. I can contribute to this process. So I got into this organization, and one thing that I did is that I worked hard. At that time, with the roles that I was given, I did them to the best that I could do. If it was typing something or going to support staff in the field, I did my best. I did not at any one time feel like, oh, I am someone's daughter, I am special. My mother is she's the founder member here. Yes. No, I did not have that at all. I worked hard, I proved myself. And when there was an opening for program officer, I put in my application. And I competed with many other people, and I was taken on as a program officer in the organization. And still, as a program officer, I worked hard. I delivered. Excellence is always something that I strive for. So I worked hard, I delivered, I proved myself. I moved the organization to the level where I felt it should be at that level as a program officer. And I have moved in this organization from one level to another. I started off as an intern. I became a project officer. I became a program officer, and now I am the CEO. So it has been growth within the organization that has not been handed to me, but I have worked hard for it. I have had to prove myself, and and I think really what I can say around that is that many times when girls or people are given opportunities in the organization, we take things for granted and don't put in a lot of effort to make sure that we prove ourselves and grow our careers within that organization, or move the organization from one level to another. And for me, that's what I did differently, and that is how I've been able to reach where I am.
Wow. Yeah. So it was not like come here, hand it over a silver plate, and receive it, go with it.
No, it's been really hard work. UCOBAC is actually governed by a board. So even if we had we had other CEOs, they saw the work that I was doing in this organization. I was a young girl, but I was working hard. I was striving to learn, went back to school, did my master's degree. I got a master's degree in human rights, came back and tried as much as possible to apply what I had learned. And I think that demonstration of hard work and dedication has really been something that has moved me from one level to another, to a level where I am now a leader in this organization, where I started as an intern.
Wow.
Yes.
Out of curiosity, Francis, why did you choose your mother's path, not your father's path of being a politician? Why?
Well,
why not the politician in your father?
Yes, I know. I've had that question a number of times, and actually some people have always thought that probably I should have taken the political side. But for me, the passion that I have to, like I said in the beginning, the passion that I have to serve communities, underprivileged communities, marginalized sections of the community, for me that is closer to my heart. And I think politics is not a bad thing to do. My father did it well. Many politicians are doing it well, but it's not yet my time. Probably, I should say that. But what I'm doing right now is very satisfying. I am supporting women and girls because, as you know, our society looks down upon women and girls because it's a patriarchal society. So for me, I use my experience to inspire girls, to to inspire women to be better, to improve in their homes, to improve in their places of work, and to contribute meaningfully to the development of our country. And I feel for me that is also politics in itself. If we can support women to be able to participate in leadership positions in politics, that is politics itself.
Yes. Wow, you've heard it from Francis right there. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, the CEO bench will continue the discussion with Francis, and of course we'll be asking Francis more on the leadership, change management and transformation, which is what this show really stands for. Stay right there. We'll be right back after the break. On this show, we brought you the former executive director of KCCA, Andrew Chitaka. You've had a beautiful story coming from him. And we brought you a business philanthropist and, of course, a business mind trainer. Dr. Jinpo Olowo was here on the show, as well as, Tony Toa. We brought you Mona Faces. But this particular show today brought you the person with the heaviest vote, the fourth female on the show, Santa Nzo. Welcome back to the program.
It's a pleasure. And Eddie, just before you ask me, I just want to thank you for using your huge platform to educate, to inspire and motivate,
Thank you,
others.
Thank you,
and
Santa.
also for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Santa.
Thank you.
In fact, we didn't give you the opportunity. We have no power to give you the opportunity. Those who you serve, who have interacted with your brand, who have interacted with you as an individual, are the very same people who said, we want to see Santa Nzo, and they voted you overwhelmingly. And so we said, our job is to provide opportunity and the platform for you to be here. And in so doing, we are happy that you are here and you're able to answer some of these questions. So we want to say thank you everybody out there who voted Santa Nzo to come on the show. And I would like to say thank you to my sister from another mother, who is the assistant professor for design communication in Washington University, Professor Penny Nachayo. One of the people who follow what you do. Yes, Daniel Engole, all the way in the US, Soul Reverend, if you remember him.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and Chigola Mwendo, all the way in Germany. Edwin is a resident panelist of Coffee at Endiro. We drink coffee together, yes, so from the coffee place.
Thank you.
So there are quite a number of people, and my wife, who is at home, who follows you quite a bit. So there are a number of people who voted for you. Unfortunately, we cannot pronounce or rather list all their names out, but we want to say thank you very much for them. And Santa, welcome back to the program. We want to dive straight into the question of change management. Santa, change management is a very systematic approach all through your life and your journey as an MD of Arapapa. I hope I've gotten this time right.
Arapapa.
Arapapa. Yes. It's very key. It's tagged and pegged on change management. You are managing change from every angle of your movement to where you are. And we've learned quite a bit in that journey. But I want to take you straight to change management, which is a systematic approach to dealing with transition. The transformation of things, you're transiting from one end to the next end. You've told us the story of how you started as a group. How did you become alone in the group? Are you still with the rest of the group together? You know, and of course, that's a transformation, that's a change, that's a transition of there, of course. And in an organization, we will call it the transformation of an organization's goals, processes, as well as the technologies that they use to manage the process. The purposes of change is normally to implement the strategies and of course to effect the image and controlling the change within the environment. Two things often happen when we're doing change management. Number one, we prepare the change. Number two, we craft the vision and plan for the change, which you have stated quite clearly. And then three, we implement the change. What was the journey like in change management? There are millions of people out there, billions of people even, who don't know how to leave one spot of comfort to the next. You are on the runway. You come from an affluent background, okay? You have come from the upper echelon of university. From the way you speak and express yourself, it's quite clear that your parents were able to take you through. And you present a different mindset of people, not traditionally how girls are always looked at. But this one is a much more straightforward person, level-headed person. How were you able to pull yourself through this? If you would share that journey with so many people who may not get the opportunity, but also the girls who don't know how to move from point A to point B. Those you started with are now seeing you and saying, look at Santa. I wish I had stayed the path, or I wish I've learned something from Santa. The interaction with the international community. Let's dive it from there. Change management.
Wow, you just took me through very, I have had to relive my years as a rapapa right from the start.
Yes.
And but first, let me correct you. I was born, yes, with enough. That is in the mid rule of Idi Amin.
Yes.
But my family lost all of that, and so we had to leave these plush environments. And I am a former refugee, because then Dad was arrested. You know how it was. You were educated those days. That was enough reason to throw you behind the bars. And my dad was arrested, brought to Kampala. Mommy and the rest of us were banished to the village. And the politics of revenge took over. Then government of Idi Amin was overthrown, and the Obote government came in, and there was need to revenge and teach the West Nilers, who, by the way, were not part of the mess that had been created. Yeah. We were kicked out of our homes. Our homes were burnt to the ground. This girl born in, Mulago Hospital then was a 5-star experience. And my mom had me there, and she said, Santa, wow, because she had had some in Moyo. Yeah. But by the time Santa was born, the family was in Kampala. Yeah. But all of these luxuries that Santa was known for, Santa was a girl of, I had milk till I was 5 years. I was just very demanding as a child, and my father made sure. My mom said, no, she has to be like everybody else. We don't have it, we don't, so sort yourself. And Daddy
Are you the last
say,
born?
No. I'm in the
you
middle.
Have the last born tendencies. Yes,
no, yes. I'm in the middle, because in the middle, if you don't make yourself hard.
Yeah, or you never, yes. Yes.
And the firstborn was doing everything right. The last born does everything right. Yeah. Now there's this one in the middle.
Completely, yes.
Excuse me. So when Mommy would say, I'm not dealing with this. She has children of her own. She has extended family to look after. And then there is her, and then there is Daddy. She said, I'm not dealing with this one. But Daddy always came back home, fed me, made sure I had my milk, But this poor girl ends up as a refugee in Southern Sudan, where even basic running water from the taps in Kampala are not available. So I didn't have it easy growing up. Yes, I was born in it, but we lost it all. And all of our siblings, parents, my mom, Daddy was arrested, which means it was as grim and beaten to near death. But I was a refugee in Southern Sudan. So I come back from Southern Sudan as a malnutrited, impoverished little girl back to Kampala. And so the journey begins again. And so I just wanted to correct that.
Wow.
No, I didn't have an affluent background, but yes.
You were born in it, so
yeah, but
yes, but losing it along the way is part of the change management.
Yes.
Which I'm lacking right now. And everybody watching the show, that's the part we're looking for. How do you manage that change? The turnaround situation in your life to the refugee camp and now to Santa, who is interacting with the world.
I also, again, I'll go back to my parents and thank them, because for Mommy, she was also in this comfort. And now she's a single mother in Southern Sudan with all these children. By then, I think we were 6. So, you know, my mom had to forget that she was a teacher by profession, that she was this wife that had everything that she needed. She now had to dig other people's gardens. So I saw the transformations. Yeah. My dad, when he rode in the, you know, UG, Mercedes, sleek black Mercedes Benzes, behaved the same way when later he had to take a bus, a public bus with chickens, fish, whatever, from Moyo to Kampala. He would still be the same father I knew, with the same dignity. And so I watched my parents lose it all, gain it all, lose it all over, but never stop to give and share whatever they had. So just to paint a clear picture, that even when we came back to Kampala, it was struggle again to get up. And then we were all right, we went through school, but then again, let me correct you, I am yet to get a university degree. So before my parents, I still owe them, remember, character, discipline, academics. Yeah, I still have to, you know, and I owe it to them, but also now to myself to get my papers in order. Although luckily for me, I called a university. I called 2 universities, one in Europe, another in the US, and I said, I am enrolling. I want to do this at a degree level. And they learned through my profile and said, what? Say, you have achieved everything with
exactly,
these students.
That's my point. So why would you be looking for it now?
I've been offered a mastery PhD. So because of my 20 years experience and the things that I've gone through, and so now I may have to forego the much.
Yes. Talks about,
She talked about and demanded bachelorette.
Yeah.
And when I finally go back to school, I am going to be rated at the level of mastery that I have earned in this sector. And yes, so I don't want nobody to get discouraged that because they do not have a degree or, you know, the highest standard of learning or schooling, even with a P7 certificate, one can still make it. I went, yes, up to senior 6. I did train as a fashion designer, have a diploma there. But for me to be everything that I am, there's a wealth of expertise and excellence that is not taught in school. It's taught at home. You get educated, very academic in school, but then life experiences, the experiences we go through day to day, give us the wealth of knowledge and wisdom that we need to actually make it in life. So don't think that because you don't have a degree or, you know, that you know, no, a degree is actually nothing if you do not have the required value systems of successful enterprise.
Wow. Wow. That already, let's just take a moment to just take in that one, Santa. I think that on a change management, on a scale of 1 to 10, to me, you've already scored 9, if not 10. Because a lot of people don't come out very clearly to talk about this because they fear that there will be stigmatization happening or will come to them. But to see where you are now and what you're talking about now, those two are completely a mismatch. I don't even think you should be thinking of it now anyway.
Well, nobody, let me tell you this, nobody can stigmatize me or look down on me because of a lack of a degree, because before they can do that, they have to beat me at my game, across the board, not just design, across the board. And so I am very confident in my abilities and also in the lack of my abilities. I know what I'm lacking and I know what to do to get it. So we have to be very careful not to let nobody talk us down. The Christ we follow as a Christian that I follow, I don't see a master's or a degree anywhere. And yet, for us to get to wherever we want to go, he is the path. Be it business, be it politics, be it, you know, academia or a religious calling, you've got to go through Christ to get there if you're Christian.
Wow.
And so we are way beyond material attachments. So I can't be graded in that area. And by the way, I mark university students. I do mark university students.
I don't think that you need anybody to give you a bachelorate for you to be approved, because I think you're way, way beyond the grade itself.
Thank you. But also, I must add that this should not be taken to think that, oh, I can make it, I don't have to go to school. I preach to parents that bring their children, because as it is now, you find that the person that wants to be the next Tarapapa is in primary. With General Katumba Wamala, I was privileged to be invited with him to mentor students of Aga Khan. And I'll tell you, I was shocked that kids as young as 7 and they want to be the next Tarapapa.
12, they're already achieving it.
And I'm telling them that, you know, I'm telling parents that bring them to me, no doubt, when I'm ready. However, I want them to go through all the grades of education, all the levels of education to the highest, if they have the opportunity. I didn't get my bachelor's degree at the time because I chose, against my parents' will, to not go to Makerere University. Daddy would have paid to the last coin of his pension to ensure that Santa gets a degree, but I said, Daddy, it's a waste. I want fashion. So I'm very happy.
I just want to hear, when you told your father, this is what I want to do, Daddy, I want to go into fashion, what was his words? I know your mom, you are two different paths when you talked about that. Fashion, from what I hear, being an academician and being a teacher, I'm sure that was not something that she wanted to hear. But I just want to hear, when you told your daddy or your father that this is not what I want to do, what did he say?
My dad is a man of very few words.
You're just about to help a child who is struggling with the same thing with the father or with the mother. The skill sets are completely designed to this. The gifting God has given are completely this, but the parent is saying, this is where you're going.
Yeah.
I once, Santa, even before you answer that, I talked to a 12-year-old girl, and she said, my mom is everything to me. She is good. She always taught us to be who we want to be and everything. And she always tells me that I can do whatever I want to do. But then sometimes I get confused when she tells me that I have to be a doctor. So the young girl told me, so I don't know whether she wants me to do what she wants or she wants me to do what she has taught me to be, which is to be what I want to be. So I'm confused. So it's on that background that I actually asked this question to help that girl, that boy, that child out there who wants to be something else but doesn't know how to communicate with the parent, and how the response from the parent borrowing from you will help them to change and to make the right footing to the next step.
Again, it starts on your knees. Talk to God about your desires. I want to, at this point, thank so much one of my godfathers, or actually my godfather, Dr. James Magara, and everything good that I am. May it be may he get the blessings. And for any mistake I've made, please exclude him, because
yes,
that has been on my own account.
Yeah.
If I was to follow the path,
Yeah.
I would be a much better person. But
Yeah.
let me simply say that he told me to talk to God. Just tell God what it is you want, and if it is within his purposes for you, you will be it.
Yeah.
So to that young girl and young boy, talk to God. Humble up. And don't fear, don't get also religious and, first go, clean up, what? Just get in a corner. Like Christ says, close yourself in a closet. Pull yourself away from the crowd, and that crowd can be your lovely mama,
Yeah.
it could be your daddy, but, your best friend. Pull away from them. Go into the closet. Tell God what it is you want in your heart. I did that amidst my chaotic life of a teenager. I did that. And I can tell you that Daddy in heaven, God listened. Because at that time, I was making this decision. God had nicely moved out my mom out of the equation in Kampala.
Yes.
Took her back to the village where she was so thrilled to take up more children, younger than Santa, and groom them, to grow her orchard,
Forgotten about Santa.
She did forget about me. Her
Forgotten
ears were on the ground.
Yes.
But,
what is she doing?
But I thank God that my mom was not in Kampala, because I'm telling you that she went on national TV, on NTV to apologize. And to advise parents. I think about a few years ago, she was called and she had to go and apologize and say, I am sorry. But if Mom had been in Kampala, I'm telling you, she would have beaten me. Would have beaten this out of me. Wow. You had to be undisciplined for her. Don't forget, she also had a bit of her upbringing in the convent. She's very organized and very, even now when you go home, you find her in a very ironed, beautiful top and dressed well, tucked in. She's very orderly and lives by the norm. Now, that happened. Mommy was taken out of the equation, even Daddy. But when I told Daddy what I wanted to do, he also wasn't here. But his reaction was, he said, okay. But he was like, Santa is impossible to
be successful,
divert once her mind is set onto something. But I believe when he went quiet, he was talking to God as well, like, help my little girl. And so I then had to get a job with a little pocket money he had left me. It ran out, I had to find a job. And then I had to find my way in fashion college, which, by the way, even then was not even available in Kampala. But there was Dolphin Fashion College, so I was led there. But let me simply say that you've got to be, I've said it so many times, but you've got to be a positive big head. The parents, Mommy was doing that not because she didn't want me to pursue my goals, but she did it to protect me. She wants the best. Every parent wants the best for their child. But you, the child, the onus is on you to prove to your parent that you're actually going to put your very best foot forward and try, as you may fail, to be a success story, whatever success would mean. Money, achievements. For me, it wasn't money, because also that wasn't told to me as a child. I'm just learning now that money is a good thing, and I should love money.
But it's not everything.
But, oh no, money is very important. Now, that will be another topic. But I'm having to unlearn the very Catholic background I came from, to unlearn the teachings about wealth and money. Let me tell you, money is very important, and every child should know without money, certain things can't happen. Dreams are gagged and stagnated. So money is very important. So I won't sit here and talk of money is not. I've learned a lot at the age, at this level of maturity.
Yeah.
I can assure you that every African parent must buy their little child that book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Let's start there. Let's learn to talk wealth. Let us learn to talk money in a very positive way.
Welcome to the CEO Bench, ladies and gentlemen from all across the world. My name is Eddie Okila, and of course the CEO Bench exists to bring you the stories of people who are on the top, doing it on the top, leading on the top, people who have been through change management, and of course are transforming lives, and they have transformed their own personal lives to reach there, as well as those who are headed to the top. What are their stories? What have they been through? What can we learn from them? Do they have some really interesting experiences to share with us? Yes, they do. And of course, on the CEO Bench this week, this morning, or this evening, or this afternoon, depending on which part of the world you are located, is the one and only the man who needs no introduction, the African youngest man on planet Earth that is doing great and amazing stuff. Been over to the creative industry, done that, is now thinking for different businesses at different levels. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you my guest this morning, Bedford Buyungo, aka Professor in the Making. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Great to have you on the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
How have you been?
I'm great.
You have been overwhelmingly nominated to come back to the CEO Bench. Would you like to tell us why would these people overwhelmingly nominate you by over 30 votes to come back to the CEO Bench, yet you have been on the CEO Bench before?
I wouldn't know, but I appreciate them. They are in a better position to let you know. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. Bedford, we want to just go straight to our interview this morning. And of course, I want you to just share with us a few of, the things, the journey, and of course, what you have been through and what you're still going through as a person on the top. The CEO Bench is a very interesting, place to be. Mm-hmm. We look at things from a different perspective, and I want to just give you a small background to what the CEO Bench is about. Mm-hmm. One, we focused on individual people who are leaders and in position of leadership.
Yeah.
The program, of course, is focused on discussion about leadership, change management, and transformation, both at individual level and as well as the corporation levels where you are, as well as the community where you live, and the nation where you lead or where you reside. All of us are leaders in our nations. But people often think that only people who are defined by political boundaries are the ones who are leading. But all of us are leaders at our levels. And it's important that we keep reminding people that even as a border man on the streets of Kampala or in the streets of any streets of the city anywhere in Africa, you are a leader. Because the things you're doing at that level is leadership. How you change your life from a border person to becoming a taxi driver, to becoming a bus driver, to becoming a pilot, is what we're calling change management at that level. Mm-hmm. But also, if you're moving from being a creative person at your level to becoming a creative thinker, to becoming a strategist, to becoming a research and developer person, and for being that person that think for brands and think for businesses and create things, that's change management.
True.
When we're looking at transformation, we look at the foray of moving from this one space to the next space, is key for us going forward. And that is what the CEO Bench exists for. And so this morning, I want to ask you this question, which I've asked you before.
Yeah.
If I am looking for a small and fast and quick definition of who Bedford Buyungo is, what would be your definition of who you are?
First, I identify as a Pan-Africanist who has passion for research and development. And yes, I'm an entrepreneur, and I think in there has many things. When you talk about Pan-Africanism, it means you're pro-Africa, you're pro-African progress. When you talk about research and development, it has an element of research, it has an element of development, developing products or brands or whatever field you're applying R&D. And when you talk about entrepreneurship, still it speaks to something. And there is reason why those three things. There is reason for Pan-Africanism, there is reason for R&D, there is reason for entrepreneurship. And for me, it is that I as a Pan-Africanist, I was like, the only way we can progress Africa is probably through the element of economics. So, yes, I know other elements work hand in hand, but yes, we've tried politics and people have played us. We've tried all other elements, even donor, funding, and we've not gotten to places we've gotten to. So I was like, why don't I get this craft, R&D craft, and be able now to birth products. We, of course, with my marketing and brand knowledge, to birth brands from end to end and go compete in the world. And I saw that as an opportunity to birth brands and compete on the global stage. Like Andrew Garcia says, he said that Africa needs needs trade, not aid. So when you say Africa needs trade, not aid, it means that you need to put something on the table for the people to buy. There is a lot of things that work for you to be able to sell in the States, for you to be able to sell in Asia, for you to be able. But thank God that every region of the world, God has put something unique. So the avocado that I'm going to sell from Uganda is not the same as the one that someone I'm going to compete with from Asia has. So in a nutshell, and I'm reminding people who get confused of who I am, that I'm simple, a Pan-Africanist who has a passion for research and development and entrepreneurship.
Wow. Well, you now know more about Bedford Buyungo. He's more of a professor than just a simple man you know. Of course, if all the professors were as simple as him in their making, I think would go far. And of course, the last time he was here, he said that, I am a self-proclaimed professor. And of course, you can see from there that you don't have to have a definition beyond the boundaries to understand what he has just said and to believe with him. But I would like to welcome you to the CEO bench, and I would like to encourage you today to make this program as interactive as possible. Share with us what your comments are and even your kisses and disses. When we say kisses and disses, I mean, tell us we're doing very good. We will be able to take that feedback. And if you think we're not doing very well, tell us what you would want to see. And the CEO bench is here to make sure that you actually have that information. And now straight to our discussion, Bedford. I just want to take you through to a couple of things that people have been talking about.
Yeah.
You have been the newest CEO on the bench of your company. And by definition of a CEO is not just that you have too many. We often believe that to be at a CEO bench, you need to have many layers of system put in place or structures that put in place. And I'm saying, yes, that's true, but what about the CEO who still starts the company from scratch, gets it to a certain level, and start to cross the boundaries? And moving to continents. And when you cross to the continent, you of course fully now become the CEO definition we're looking for. And you've been doing this from the Saint Africa. We've seen the brand cross the borders and become something of a development. You're working on another brand called the voyage Africa, if I get the name very right.
African Voyage.
African Voyage, which is the boat building company. And the thinking is great. The motivation is great. We just want to start from there. Where do you draw your motivation to think like this from?
I partly tackled that in the first question. There's something called vision, and I think I talked about it last time we were here. Once you have a vision, then your picture is about 70% clear. The 30% I'll leave it to God. So when you have a clear picture, then the Mzungu or the white man says the end justifies the means. When I want to go to Kampala and I'm using public means, I behave differently from the man who is using public means from Kampala to Masaka. One is going far, one is going near. And by default, when you're seated in a taxi and you're going to Ntinda, the normal saying is Momasao. So you know that it's close, but because you're very clear of where you're going, your behavior follows automatically. It means I don't need to greet my neighbor because soon it's going to be Masao. So the posture even changes. When I'm, for example, at the front seat, I'm looking around, and soon I say, conductor, Masao. But the guy going to Masaka or Kigali using Masaka Road, by default, the posture is going to change. The first thing you do is, how are you, because anything can happen along the way. So the vision is very important, and my vision is deeply linked to where Africa is going. And no one has come out to tell us about where Africa is going. The 54 countries have not sat, or African Union, and probably made it clear that Africa needs to be this, Africa needs to be that by this time. It might be there, big documents, but not in one statement that Africa needs to be this. So many of us Pan-Africanists, the doers, the talkers, the many Pan-Africanists, or people who are pro-Africa, everyone has their contribution to African progress. Now mine is deeply linked to African economic, African progress. And since I come from the brand world, marketing world, I decided that I will champion the global brands that are coming from Africa. I know many people have gone before me, but mine is to contribute to African brands and see them compete globally, because I know when the African brands are competing globally, that means jobs, that means many things, and that means good life, good health, many things.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bedford, a lot of the nomination that came this time around to bring you back to the CEO bench were a number of people who started their companies. From the data we're seeing at the CEO bench here, a number of people who started their companies, and just in 2019, some of them had great aspirations. They had moved out from their jobs and started something else, and they were doing really great, and they had plans. The visions were clear, the missions were clear, and then the pandemic came from nowhere, and it is accounted for to have started somewhere in China, and nobody saw it making its way in January or by December 2019 and January 2020, it arrived here. Most of us were expecting it to be here a little bit much later because China is really far away from Africa. But it made its way here quite faster and quicker. And a lot of these companies, a lot of these individuals that started these companies, that moved from their former employment to start these companies, are now facing a big challenge of even extinction and slipping back to employment. Some of them are really running mad, and I'm talking about guys who started the company by employing from 10 to 15 to 20. I met one of them yesterday that says he employs 45 people from when he started, and now he's going to have to cut down everyone because the vision is not going where it's supposed to be. Pandemic has happened. How do we help such fellows move forward? How have you been able to do it? Because you've been in the same space. Almost around the same time is when the Saint Africa comes on, and it rolls out and it's working. What would be the best advice to give from the background perspective of a marketer, brand developer, an advertiser, and now an entrepreneur, as well as a Pan-Africanist who is thinking from a different perspective altogether?
Thank you so much for that question, and for the people who nominated me along those lines. It's sad what is happening and what is going on in the world, then Africa, and of course our country. It is sad, and no one saw this coming. But even in what I call such career, there is always a blessing. So I'll start by encouraging these people to accept that the foundations are shaken. You did mention around 29 people had started business. I think we were online in 2020. South Africa started selling globally in 2020. And so the first thing is to accept. So acceptance really takes you far. It means it's going to manage your posture. It's going to influence your posture towards the issues. And I did, when you told me about this, I did write something. Probably that's the reason you call me professor. Yes, it's an interview, but I take the opportunity to teach. And I'm not a professor that has been awarded a degree, and it's just a nickname. So, like I said, the first thing, and our viewers can even get pen and paper, and then we write a few things down to guide us. So I did write 11 points on how to maneuver. I don't know if we have the time to, but I'll be fast. And feel free to interject, and we'll make it interactive, enjoyable, and quite something for our viewers. So like I said, mine was to first accept that the foundations are shaken, because now that is going to help you measure, where the cracks are. But if you sail through and like nothing is happening, then you have a problem. It's like an ostrich buried their head in the sand and think the whole body is not being seen, but the whole of the body is on the other side. So point number 2 is by not making things worse, is to act. To apply action, to act. And first we said that you accept, and then now we are saying you act. Of course, businesses have different challenges. Like your friend you talked about has 45 guys. He has to think about how to survive the 45 guys, how to lay off the 45 guys. He has different challenges, but it's not just 45. It's the rent, it's the many things. So the thing is to act. If you have a rent, then you need to write to the landlord. Is to act. And pick yourself up, be strong. I know where strength is going to come, because it's hard to tell someone who's lost even friends and family to be strong. But we need to be strong for each other. And part of why we're even spending this time is to help our friends be strong. Is to help them, strengthen their resolve in them, making a way through this pandemic. So the point number 3 that I wrote is dealing with reality, not fiction.
Wow.
You get what I mean?
Yes.
So reality, I talked about in a previous point about when you're talking about rent, for example, that's the reality. You probably or rent an office of say $1 million Uganda shillings, and yes, you need to deal with that reality. You need to write to your employees, to the landlord. That's the action we talked about. But the reality is not dealing with fiction, what people are saying, what you heard the other side. You analyze and then you act.
Wow.
The other day, I think I was seen on social media walking, but I wasn't walking for fun.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I wasn't working for fun. I had a deal.
The business.
I had a business in town.
Yes.
And someone was paying some money for me to do something. And I was like, okay,
You can't drive?
I can't drive because I'm not amongst essential workers. And I didn't have a bicycle. So I was like, and in Entebbe, I thought about where to buy a bicycle. Probably I thought they were more expensive. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to walk. So I prepared that night, ate fruits, did all what I thought would take me through the 42 kilometers, and I walked. So as people are enjoying my walking moment, because I shared it on social media, internally I knew that I'm going to finish something. So that way I managed to walk and get to Kampala after 4.5 hours, and I was able to meet my client and then go through that.
So it was actually walking for you to go
to do business.
To do business.
Yeah.
Now, I just want to hold it right there, and I want to interject from that point. Many of us, when we become CEOs, or by CEOs, I mean Chief Executive Officer. It means that there are smaller other executive people under you here that runs probably finance, human resource, administration, that runs marketing here. But you are now the chief because you are now looking at things from a visionary point of view, directional point of view, and finding the pathways for us to get there and solving the problem that the team here not. So one of them is to get business and to connect business to them. Then they can do the business. That's the CEO we're looking for.
Definitely.
Yeah. So at that level, and we learned this from a business development manager called Dr. Jinfo Olo. Talked about it on the show here. And we learned something from there, that at that level you're focusing on strategic partnerships and direction. Now, many CEOs at that level can't sit on borders, don't want to walk on the road, and when they can't move, when there's no vehicle, they're always driven. But yet we saw you here with Saint Africa. I don't know whether Ugandans and many Africans actually understand or been to that website to see what Saint Africa is really putting out there. But when we see you walking from there 42 kilometers to Kampala, and we're enjoying the walk, and you are coming to meet another CEO who is giving you business, and when I learned of the business volume that you are picking from this CEO and going, it was such a very, I would say, mind-boggling situation to see how when we rise to a certain level, we can't come down. What informed your decision to do that?
It's still, I was looking at the business and I'm like, of course I can't send anyone.
They are also in lockdown.
They are also in lockdown, but also I was meeting the CEO, so he needed to be at that level. So he's like, are you able to make it? And I'm like, yes, I'm able to make it. I didn't tell him how. So I started working, and for me it was what I'm winning for the rest of the company. And of course, when I win that, I win it on behalf of the rest. So it is always on behalf of the rest. I'll go the extra mile. Yes.
Wow. We want to take a break, Bedford, and when we come back, you'll pick it up from point number 4, which is the reality. We're learning from the CEO and as well as the business proprietor, the founder, and you nominated him to come to the show. He has 11 points so far, 3 knocked down, and I think that 1, think about it, if I'm not mistaken. Number 2, take action. Number 3, look at the reality. All right, we'll be right back after the break.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a fake. Yes. So let's be very honest about this thing and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. When a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away, and yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion, they are heavier than the lion, they are more intelligent than the lion, they are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony Trump, thank you very much for coming to the CEO bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address? Now, as you look into the camera and close the show.
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
The CEO bench is about leadership, change management, and transformation. And all we've been talking about here, from the votes that came in, the 30 votes that came in, we wanted Bedford Buyungo to come back to the program and give, some nuggets of truth about how we can help our struggling businesses. This is from the private entrepreneurs corner. And of course, I think that he's been able to give that, coming from the background of a brand developer, product developer, marketer, an advertiser, and an entrepreneur, and a Pan-Africanist, thinking at a different level altogether. Bedford, if you're picking up from point number 10 as we close.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm enjoying the viewers' comments as well.
Yes.
I'm 43 years in August.
Wow.
So I was born in 1978.
Yeah.
And yes, I know I probably look old. Yeah.
Yeah.
But in a different part of the world, my age, you're very old.
Yeah.
You're not being there, done that.
Yeah.
In this part of the world,
you're just starting.
We're just starting.
In fact, we make money when we're 40 plus. They said we start to become serious at 45.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we don't live a very healthy life to see us enjoy that, because at 40 we are dying. I mean, how many of our colleagues have died at 40?
Yeah.
Because they are not living a very healthy life
and
a fit life to be able to enjoy the start of this process of the journey.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I'm trying to do in many of my thinking right now is to turn my skills and my training of health and fitness to be able to make other people become successful.
Yes.
And I believe that if I make them become successful
yes.
in being healthy and fit,
yes.
I will make money off all my life. The
Great.
reason being, if they are successful, they will always not forget the water that, the hand that was feeding them.
Definitely.
I mean, if I train 1,000 people, give information to 1,000 people, I'm hoping that maybe about 500 will come back. The other 500 will throw me off balance.
No, the 500 will come.
Yeah, but there's a 500 people who are going to come. So yes, you're right when you say the age. And until we need to pick up from the health and fitness point of view as, CEOs and entrepreneurs at your level you've reached, to be able to think serious. Guys, health and fitness is key. And I think that COVID-19 is helping us settle the boat, the balances, checking us there and right and left and center, that you are home. By the time you're coming back from the 42 days, you probably put on so much weight, you know, the anxiety has kicked in. You cannot think very well for your business because you are unfit and unhealthy at the same time. And that means that your productivity, like Bedford said, in the other part of the world, 43, they are retiring. You know, in this part of the world, 43, we are starting and yet we are dying. So we have not started, we are not even not there.
Yeah.
Unless we're able to work our way stronger and more fitter. But over to you, Bedford. Sorry, I had to interject with that point because you touched something quite very important in this discussion.
No, that's very important.
Yeah.
There is something I call the fast tracking of the African mind.
Yes.
And that's what we need.
Yeah.
In the area of health, in the area we need to fast track our thinking.
Yes.
And if you were miseducated for 19 years, you need to unload the 19 years fast. And then retape.
Yes.
If it was, you know, like the video recording, and retape new knowledge.
Yes.
And then get on the faster lane we talked about,
Yes.
and then run.
Yes.
If it's a race, 100 meters dash, and you're against Usain Bolt and all that, just know that Usain Bolt, Tyson Gay, they are at the 50-meter mark, and you're on the 0 mark. Appreciate it that way. That's how we started. That you need to appreciate that you are locked down for 42 days, but the other world is moving, and they are much more better than you. They have system, they have addresses, which mean everything. They have social security, they have everything, and you are at the 0 mark trying to
catch up with them.
So my 10th point is find someone to mentor you. My 11th point, I guess, find someone to mentor you. I touched about it a little bit, but let me stress it out that we need to find someone.
That is actually point number 10.
Yeah.
We wrapped up 10 and 11. Yes, you said you put 11 point. Yes.
Yeah. We need, you need to find someone to mentor you in the area of health. If that's the need you have. You in the area of business. Like I have a few mentors, and I treat them like fathers. I told you the guy who taught me how to calculate, how to use the calculator was someone who even has no degree. But I appreciated his touch. I mirrored him against people who have degrees and economists, and I'm like, I'm going with this guy who employs 3,000 people, pays them every 2 weeks on time.
Yes, and runs the company that supplies East Africa, and now I think it's Africa.
He's in 9 countries.
Yes.
I'm like, this guy, he has to be my mentor in the area of finance, in the area of numbers. So occasionally I check on him. Even yesterday I sent him, MZ, I hope you're well. And he said, yes, I'm good. How about you? I said, I'm good. So in the area of spirituality, I have my mentor. In the area of excellence, I have the Michael Jackson guy, you know. He's 64, Dorian Hall is 64. He's retired. He's still you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I'm making use of him. And guess what? If Michael Jackson paid him, he's giving me free knowledge.
Wow.
I have Professor Lumumba, because that is the direction I'm taking. As a Pan-Africanist, I need a Pan-Africanist who can easily introduce me to people. I need a Pan-Africanist who tells me, I think you're going on the wrong trajectory. I think this is it. We need Pan-Africanists who not just talkers but doers. So that's what Professor Lumumba tells me. So occasionally, I think for you to hire Professor Lumumba to speak, you'd have to pay 6,000 USDs. He gives me that knowledge for free. You get what I mean? Of course, a mentor will have to appreciate your hunger and then start, you know,
feed the hunger.
But these are people who've done things, and I'm saying they are not leaving me behind. I'm going with them. Let me go on the Kameme, but I'll reach. Eventually, I'll be able also to mentor others.
Wow. Let's go to point number 11 as we close the show.
Of course, point number 11 is learning from experience. We had the first pandemic, and if we didn't learn anything, the second pandemic is clearly telling us that the world is on reset.
If
you think that you're going to open up a shop, a cloth shop, and sell the way you used to sell before COVID, then it's like you're waiting for the ship at the airport.
Wow.
Things have changed.
Wow.
Things are very virtual. Yeah. If you think that your human resource staff is going to be able to work the way they used to work, then you're wrong, because these people, while at home, they've been introduced to many other things. Some of them are learning new skills. So if you view them the way you used to view them before, it's like waiting or winking at a woman in the dark.
Wow.
You better stand and appreciate that things have changed. Take stock.
Wow.
Sit down with a paper and pen and say human resource. Plot it and say things have changed. Interview your staff. You know, ask them what they want to be in 5 years. I promise you they'll tell you different things. They've learned things. Some of them know what is working and what is not working. So I want to thank you for the opportunity of hosting me here. For the viewers who, who've been watching us, the people who nominated me, and I want to tell them that, or give them encouragement. I shouldn't give. They should still have hope that things are going to be better, and they should look north. And of course, if they are spiritual, God will come to our rescue. And but God has to find us doing something. They need to learn. They need to have their visions clearly written, because that will help the posture they're going to take. And also to remind them that we as research and development fellows are constantly coming up with ideas of how to make things better. For example, we are going to have the cheapest mortgage in the world. And you and I are going to work on that. We'll have the cheapest mortgage in the world. Housing is going to be
something that has never been discussed before, something has never been thought about before.
Definitely.
Something that people have never even thought about in their wildest imagination.
Yeah, housing is going to be a human right. We're going to make it here in Uganda. You and I and our team, we're going to make it happen. It's not going to be that for you to own a house, you've succeeded. That will be the foundation and not the limit.
Wow.
To your success.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Well, Bedford, thank you so much for coming to the CEO Bench today. I would like to say we are really extremely humbled to have you back on the show today. And I think that those who have nominated you have not gotten anything short than their expectations were at the beginning, and that informed their decision to nominate you to come back to the show. And to everyone out there, thank you very much for being part of the show. I would like to say thank you, and we're looking forward to having you anytime we have the vote. The CEO Bench is purely about the vote. You see the person, you don't understand them, but you hear about them and you want them to come. We created this platform so that they can come and share their ideas. 1.5 hours of them sharing their ideas, sharing their thoughts, and of course their experiences in the area of leadership, change management, and transformation. Until then, we want to say thank you and keep it the CEO Bench. Like Bedford Buyunga said, we're working on something. Again, don't wink on that woman in the dark. As the pandemic comes, that's a learning for today. As you come out of 42 days, please put the light, put the glasses, and see the beauty of that human being called the business that God had placed before you. And like you said, you have to make sure that you don't wait for God to find you when you are seated. Rather, God should find you when you're walking. Until then, keep it the CEO Bench. Bedford Buyungo, Ed Your Killer, signing out.
even people are stuck in their own ways. For people who have had a chance to, say, work out of the country, you're dealing with people from different backgrounds, different cultures. Their view of the world is different. You know, you cannot change that. The best you can do is get into that space and find a way of navigating through that.
Okay.
So I don't believe that what I've learned necessarily is going to go into, say, a big organization like Stanbic and change it.
Yeah.
If it may guide me along the way in terms of how to navigate, in terms of how to influence the leaders of that organization, but not necessarily kick the front door and change everything. In fact, I think that's disastrous because you may just end up going backwards. So I think for me is allow yourself to learn from the environment and then adapt and change from within.
Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of time we see people, Daniel, who go into organization and just start changing, and you find people flying from this organization to another and says, man, the new boss was come.
Correct.
I can't stay there.
Absolutely.
And this happened.
Absolutely.
Is it they themselves who are a problem, those who are running away, or actually the bosses come and want to change everything? Have you ever been in an organization and people have viewed you like that? And if yes, how were you able to deal with it? If not, had you learned these tricks before going inside there so that when you arrived, you are more warmer to people than more, cold to other people?
Yeah, I think in most cases where, and we've seen this, even in Uganda, where a CEO comes and tries to change everything overnight and the organization suffers. You lose your talent, the good people leave the company, they go to other organizations, your numbers start going down. It's a no-brainer. The good ones are the ones who quickly realize, oh, this is different. I need to adapt. I mean, I always hear people who have worked in Tanzania. Tanzanians are different. The way they do things at their pace and how they
shift and move things,
relate among each other is very different.
Yes.
So if you come with your speed and and forcefulness, you'll get a culture shock. They'll edge you out slowly in their nice way. Before you know it, you've left the company. I remember earlier back in our breweries, we had similar people who used to come from South Africa at the time. Because Africa is obviously very fast-paced. It's about push, push, push. And a lot of them suffered. In fact, a time came when they said, you know what, this thing is not working. Let's empower now Ugandans. That's how you guys came through. Yeah.
Be an image for women out there who are doing something, who are struggling, and to tell them there is something better. I want to be part of working with organizations that are supporting communities to grow, community organizations like Bosco Uganda, local organizations to build their capacities, strengthen the institutions so that they continue to do the great work they're doing out there. So I want to be a part of that. So I thank APC, I thank Horizon 3000, the organization I worked with, the Austrian government through the Austrian Development Agency. I thank Accenture, I thank Notre Dame University. I thank UNICEF, but the UNICEF did a lot with Bosco Uganda to reach out to schools. So I am a woman who wants to ensure that whatever we're doing, we are counting for results. That every intervention we do must transform lives. And we want to ensure that people are in the driving seat. The communities, the young people, the youth, that they are on the driving seat. So designing programs with them. As we go out to do studies, get their views. So what we did is to go and actually listen to the different, how do I say, actors, players in the whole ecosystem of health, from the district health officers, biostats, in charges of facility, sub-county chiefs, they now call them SAS, you know, the patients even, to get their views. So it's so important that we get the views of the people and the change that they want to see, so that we define that change process and be able to work towards what we want to see. So you asked many questions, so I hope I am answering it. But I really believe that as a woman who wants to see my children and all other children, I'm really so passionate about young people, children, women, men, who working together, whether it's at the family level, work together. Why do you fight? Put your efforts together, put your resources together. I have seen families where the man is working, the woman is working, but it's only the man who is spending the money in the family. What is the money of the woman doing? Why not work together? Because together you can go far. But if you stand as an individual, you're going to fail.
What is Divine Bamboo in a nutshell?
Okay, so Divine Bamboo is an innovative forestry and energy company. It's a Ugandan company, and our mission is to stop deforestation in Uganda. We do that through the promotion of bamboo as a sustainable alternative to cutting down traditional hardwoods. So that was my motivation, really, because Uganda is losing so much tree cover. We are losing so much forest because mainly of the need to cook. So because of fuel wood in the form of charcoal and firewood, a lot of people don't have a choice but to go to the forest and cut down trees. And so we wanted to provide an alternative to that. Yeah.
And so when you started to provide an alternative to this, how has this been received by the people that you're talking to?
So of course, with any new innovation, it's not straightforward. You don't get the idea today and then the idea is mature. First of all, the idea, the business model takes time to develop. And in the same way, the audience, the customers also need time to adapt to the new products and like the new plant in this case. So it's a gradual process, but I would say that we are seeing very positive change.
People at the moment are struggling to understand the older generation because times have changed. Technology has come in.
They've moved on.
Yes.
We're the ones sitting back and wondering, what is my child on to? TikTok has surpassed WhatsApp. The other one I call, I never call it Facebook, it's Bookface. Why are you on Bookface? Dad, it's Facebook.
Yes.
Me, I keep saying I have a foot amongst the millennials. And I understand the traditionalists.
Okay.
There's a song in the 60s, by the way, and in the 90s, 70s, where they're like, parents don't understand.
Yes.
Remember Prince?
Yes.
An army of sheep led by a lion will beat an army of lions led by a sheep. That's a pay.
Yeah.
So let's be very honest about this thing, and really understand that you need to understand where you lie and where you fall. So it's very important for us to understand that leadership has to be definitive. You can't be laissez-faire. It has to be definitive. You have to be strong, just like a lion. You know, when a lion meets an elephant or a buffalo or whatever, the buffalo and all these animals run away. And yet, by the way, they are stronger than the lion. They are heavier than the lion. They are more intelligent than the lion. They are taller than the lion. They run away. The lion, because of its attitude, it sees lunch. That is a leader.
Mr. Tony Trav, thank you very much for coming to the CEO bench. And I want to ask you, so if you were elected the President of the Republic of Uganda today, what would be your first State of Nation address now as you look into the camera and close the show?
I think my first State of the Nation address would first of all to... I think I'll just close it down.
Now I'm going to talk to my people.
Yes.
Because I like what, as we are saying, yes. Vive la France, vive la francophonie. So, le leadership, c'est quoi? Le leadership, ce n'est pas le fait d'intimider les gens ou bien de dominer les gens. Non. Le leadership, c'est le fait d'aider les gens à suivre le bon chemin. Parce qu'il y a des gens qui sont là, ils ne savent même pas par quel chemin emprunter. Il y a des gens qui ont même étudié, mais ils ne savent pas quel business ils doivent faire. Maintenant, l'idée, quand tu rencontres une personne pareille, tu vas l'orienter. Non, tu peux faire mieux que ce que tu fais. Non, la peur que tu as là ne va pas te tuer. Tu peux aller au-delà de la peur. L'idée, c'est comme j'avais donné l'exemple, allow me to go a little bit deeper. J'avais donné l'exemple ici en français, en anglais, pardon. La vidéo que j'avais vue à propos de chiens, il y avait un groupe de chiens au niveau du Canada et il n'y avait pas de l'eau. Pourquoi? Parce qu'il y avait, la neige, il n'y avait pas la place pour que tout le monde puisse boire de l'eau. Mais il y avait seulement une petite place pour le boss que je vais appeler. Et il ne voulait pas que les autres puissent venir boire de l'eau, comme il était boss. Il intimidait les gens. Mais il y avait un petit garçon, un petit chien qui était là à côté. Il a eu l'idée de briser la glace, là où il y avait pas, parce que l'eau était en dessous et il n'y avait pas moyen de boire, mais le petit chien a brisé et tout le monde a vu ce qu'il faisait. Ils sont venus, ils ont commencé à briser et tous ont profité avec l'eau potable. Et le boss était laissé comme un vaurien. Personne ne le faisait confiance parce qu'il n'était pas là pour les aider. Il était là simplement pour le faire peur, les intimider. Mais l'idée, c'est quelqu'un qui est là pour aider quelqu'un à avancer jusqu'à son destin, à sa vision. Parce que nous avons tous nos visions, mais c'est la peur des fois qui nous arrête. Merci mon ami.
Let me take this opportunity. Yeah. I know everybody is watching me. My fellow Ugandans, my fellow youth, my fellow brothers and sisters, please, everything is possible. You can never regret before you die. I know people, they have degrees, masters, and what? But they are looking for something to do. They are waiting for, they are applying for job opportunities. But you can create your own project. You can create it. You understand? Yeah. You can do something, because for me, I came from the foot of the mountain. You understand? Everything is possible. So, however much you have a degree, you have what? You will be keeping on looking for job. No job. You have seen the way how for me I started. I think you saw the car park, the small park, which I started with. Now check. Right now, Uganda is proud of that park. But I thought that park was mine at the beginning. I thought, man, I've made this park. But the day when I realized it, that is the time when the community came together and said, from the community, that park is no longer for the community. At the beginning, it was mine. It jumped off from me. It went to the community. It jumped away from the community. It went for Nakawa. It jumped from Nakawa. So now it's for the whole of Uganda.
Yes.
You understand?
Yeah.
But remember where I started from.
Yeah.
That's why I say, my fellow Ugandan, my fellow brothers and sisters, sit, think what you can do. It can expand at any time.
To be an engineer. When I joined my Form 5, my dad asked for a PCB math. Back then we used to do a long combination. And I changed the combination because I didn't want to do biology. I didn't want to do the biology. I wasn't interested in medicine. Yeah. But he talked to me. He didn't punish me. Later on, I changed back to the course. And then there I was, went to campus, went for a medical course, and I'm out here.
Okay.
Yes.
And doctor, before we get into our second part, which is the management of change and development within self, which is what I'm basically taking you through, either in a business or a similar organization and at the nation level.
Right.
You trained as a medical doctor, and we see you now transiting to another area which is very interesting that we have not seen many people in Uganda. That's managing change.
Okay.
What would you describe change management in your understanding as is to many of our viewers?
How would I describe change management?
Yes.
Well, I would initially say, I talk something about change. Change is something inevitable and irreversible. Once change comes, you have to move. It either changes you or you change with a change.
Yes. What is that one thing that you want to leave us with on this program that we will remember you for and we can start practicing based on the leadership, change management and transformation we've talked about, but also from the, your experience as a CEO, employing over 60 people, and as well as teaching millions of people at the university?
I think, Eddie, I'm not going to spend a lot of time.
Yes.
I want to say that there's a saying that a single raindrop never thinks that it is responsible for the flood that we see in the valley. Okay. I want to encourage people that we all matter. We all have a responsibility to improve the quality of life we have as Ugandans, especially, but also as Africans. And that greed, corruption, praising illegitimacy will end up actually punishing. We end up punishing ourselves. We end up killing ourselves. We end up squandering the opportunities of the people that will come in future. We need to know that just like a single drop of rain contributes to the flood, we need to have a mindset that is going to be focused on contributing to a flood of positive transformation of our society. Start by appreciating that you need to change your values, be honest, work hard, don't cheat, don't take shortcuts, because when you do, if now somebody entered here and gave you $1 million, it confuses you and it gets you disorganized. But if you've earned it, then your internal environment prepares for it, and then you find you in a comfortable space. So as Ugandans and Africans, we need to choose to work hard, avoid shortcuts, take an organic path. It gets us there.
It's a CEO bench, so usually people want to assume that all CEOs are overlearned and stuff like that. So I will change the script this time around. I consider myself a certified hustler.
If I'm looking to know who you are you Ugandan? If yes, what are the values that define you as Ugandan?
That's the easiest question, I think, to answer. I am a typical Lao man from Erute North, in a place called Ogur, and where I will be laid to rest is in a village called Agweng. So if you go there and you just say Otoa Tony, they won't really know me because my father is also Otoa Tony. You have to ask for Junior, and when you're asking, you have to ask with an accent. Junior Tikwene, where is Junior? And they will identify me. But I'm typically Ugandan, only Ugandan, from Lira. I pride myself from being from Lira. Earlier on, I was joking and saying I'm the coolest Lango south of Karuma. When you cross Karuma, there are so many. But when you're down the south after Karuma, I think I'm number one.
Wow. Well, now that you know Tonyo Toa is Ugandan, and of course, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
I think it's the love for country, love for nation. You know, truth be told, the country is in a lot of, it's a crisis. Leadership crisis, economic crisis, social crisis. There's so many mismatching areas. But at the end of the day, it's home. You know, you cannot run and abandon your home because of the issues in your home. I think that then creates an opportunity for you to do something to change what's happening and what you see as a crisis. So in terms of what I see as a value, or what I take out of that for me, I think is just the love for country, the need to serve country the best way I can. And I mean, I can't say I can change everything, but the little I can do to create a difference, I think, is more meaningful.
Wow. Mr. Tonyo Toa, growing up, what did you want to be in life? And what was the journey like for Mr. Toa?
Yeah, you know, my father is crazy. My father would call us and he would show me the compass. The idea was supposed to be a pilot. You know, the planes would fly over our house, and my father would be like, yeah, you're going to be a pilot. But of course, as you grow, you realize that you have so many things that really define you. I was never a sportsman. So I enjoyed a lot of debate and, you know, a lot of indoor activities. And that is, I think, what really drove me into some of the things that I do up to today. Public speaking, the love for debates and really a lot of intellectual discourse and all this stuff. But besides that, I think it's also the fact that I won't lie. I didn't know what I wanted to be.
Every time you wake up in the morning, you want to find some inspiration. And there is life that you need to know what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and you know who to lead you to where you want to go. And of course, on the CEO bench, we try to bring you those people who are doing it, those people who are going places, those who have started from somewhere and are somewhere and are going somewhere. The CEO bench this week focuses on a lady who started a journey all the way from Naguru. In fact, the journey starts from the western part, the West Nile part of Uganda, straight to Naguru, and from Naguru to Entebbe, and now to the rest of the world, turning the wasted materials into something that you can carry and go with. What a story and what a journey. My guest this morning on the CEO bench is the one and only Faith Aweko. Welcome to the show, Faith.
Thank you so much.
How are you today?
I'm very fine.
Good. So somebody sent me a comment and says, I want to see that lady on the show. On Facebook, she looks so aggressive and she looks too serious and she's so loud. I want to see, is she big? Is she small? Is she, is she masculine? Is she feminist? But you're here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And we want to dive straight to the show today, Faith. You're on the CEO bench. The CEO bench exists to give a platform and a space for people to express themselves. We're looking at people who are doing something, people who are on a leadership journey, people who have done it, people who are either going to the top or already on the top and coming down, And we want to share that story with as many people as possible to give them inspiration. We want them to be inspired, encourage and transform. And that's the journey of leadership, change management, and transformation. So on the show today, you have been overwhelmingly nominated to come onto the show. We are not going to talk much about the health and fitness, although we'll get there. Some people said you need to bring that lady onto the show, and others says no, we want to know the story of how she's able to turn around her life to where we are right now. So the first question, we need to get to know you, Faith. Who is Faith Aweko?
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Faith Aweko. I am the founder and CEO of Reform Africa, a social business here in Uganda that upcycles plastic polythene waste bags, known as the Caveras, into sustainable, durable and waterproof bags and accessories. So we utilize plastic waste as a resource to come up with the different patterns and different designs of the bags.
Wow. And Faith, are you Ugandan?
Of course, yes. So I'm Analur by tribe from Nebi, that's West Nile.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
And if yes, what are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
I think being born in Uganda, that is what makes me a Ugandan.
Okay.
Yes.
And what about the values that define you as a Ugandan? Do you have values? What are the values that define you as a Ugandan?
I think looking at how we are as Ugandans, we are more of like friendly people. I would say that because if we receive tourists who come to Uganda, most of them say Uganda is one of the lovely country because straight from the airport, people are already saying hi to you. So that also defines me as a person. I'm also very friendly with people. Yes.
Okay. Faith, I want to take a moment to just take us through your life. The journey of Faith Aweko from Nebi to Kampala. Nebi is found, for some of you who are watching the CEO bench from all across the world, it's the West Nile part of Uganda, found in the western part of Uganda. It's about 400 kilometers from the capital city of Kampala, not so, towards Arua, and going straight to the border of South Sudan, and then you exit and go to many places, and that's where Faith comes from. So yes. The journey of Faith Aweko from Nebi, crossing that Nile, eating the fish, coming to Kampala and to Naguru.
Okay.
Let's have the chat here and we'll talk about it. Yes.
So I wasn't actually born in Nebi. Yes. Very unfortunate.
Yeah.
I was born in Naguru, Kampala. So usually, most times, like from primary 1, 2, 3 up to 7, we used to go to the village almost like every December. So I was born in Naguru, go down, one of the really highly polluted areas in Uganda. But growing up, I grew up in an extended family. My parents loved a lot to have relatives at home. So we grew up a big family. So I grew up from Naguru, go down, went to Naguru Katali Primary School, then moved on to City High for my senior 1 and senior 2. My dad values a lot of education, and he tries so much for us. He tried a lot for us to really have a decent and good education. So he pushed us to go to Chambogo College. So yeah, so I went to Chambogo College from my senior 3 to senior 5, then joined Chambogo University.
Okay, so it is okay for us to say this is the bad girl from Naguru. You know, we have a bad man from Kampala. So you are the bad girl from Naguru, so to speak. All right, and let's talk about your life in Naguru. Naguru is a suburb of Kampala, and you know, it's a contrast of the epitome of class within the city of Kampala, in that hill. And when you come down to where you say you grew up from, it's a different contrast altogether. It means that the rich people who live on the top of the hill can release whatever waste they release from up there and ends up down here. And let's talk about the experience of growing up in that area and, you know, staying in an extended family as a young girl. How was that going for you? How was it generally?
So as a kid, you don't really get to think much because you know, you just have food, you have families, you have friends, and you have the community. So there is really not much that you think of. So growing up, I also realized that there's a lot of flooding in the areas that I think it was around senior P5, P6 there, when really every time it would rain, we would spend time in the nights draining water out of our houses because of the flooding. And also, if it's like morning, going to school was hard. So I thought, okay, maybe it's because we are staying in the slum. That was now in P7. But when I was in senior 4, I realized, you know, this is because of the actually poor waste management in the area. Because my home and the neighborhood, when it rains, is when we think of disposing of waste. But also in Uganda generally, organic and inorganic waste is mixed together. Yeah. And most times the organic waste is heavier, so it is even hard because KCCA could tell people to bring waste at the marketplaces. Yeah. So carrying all that waste was hard. So every home keeps the waste at the backyard, and then when it rains, you know, the kids run and pour it in the trenches. Yeah. So that was also something fun to do as a kid. Yeah. Because it's raining, and that is what most people think of, you know. Go and pick rubbish. That is what people say. Yeah. So
which basically means go and pick the kasasiro and throw it so that rain can wash it away.
Yes.
Typical.
Yes.
You know, yes. Yeah.
That was what we thought. But also, aside from that, I was an active kid. From as a young kid, I really loved a lot of sports, and I also loved art, design. But when I joined secondary, it was a challenge. Like I said, my dad values education, so he only wanted us to concentrate on school. You know, school, there's nothing like taking part in MDD or in sports, because he thought that was taking away your time for reading books. But regardless, I would participate. I have a number of certificates that I would win. But during holidays, that means I would not take part in activities. So I only had to wait until school is there. Time, yeah. Yes, so when I was in my senior 3, when we were choosing subjects to do, I still chose art. And yeah, so I chose art, and I passed highly with a distinction in my UNEB. But senior 5, I opted for mathematics, economics, geography, and art.
So you went back where your dad wanted you to be?
No. So when you realize I was doing art, he's like, no, there's no way I'm going to pay
the school fees.
Yes, if you're doing art, like art has no weight. So he told me to change. Wow. So I had to change to entrepreneurship. So I did make ends, and I'm like, okay, maybe at university I'll do art. So I realized at the university you have to have done art in your A level to pursue art. So I went in for statistics.
Wow.
So I did statistics until my 3rd year, and then I went, so during 3rd year, we had to go for internship. But also to take you back, during my senior 6 holidays, me and my sister decided maybe we would start doing jewelry and some fashion because it's something that I wanted. So I began recycling jewelry from anything that I really find around. So I made necklaces, earrings. I used to go to Owino, buy t-shirts, jumpers, punch them with chitenji like that and sell. So when I joined the university, I was doing it alongside school. So I got my internship in Gulu at the local government. So that is when things really changed. I felt like I had moved away from something that I really passionately loved because there I was just working while doing data entry. And then, you know, I think it was just 2 or 3 weeks. I just told my sister, I don't think I am going to continue with this. I don't think I am going to continue with the internship, or I don't think this is something that I really want to do. She's like, wow, that is tough. So, yes, so...
And I just want to break that, you know, just interject a bit. So when that was going on, what was the relationship like between you and your dad? Because it is evident that your father wanted you to be something else and you wanted to be something else, so there's a conflict in there. Were you talking, were you resolving these things? You know, what was going on?
No. So my dad also is not a kind of person that, you know, you can get to sit. We grew up fearing him a lot. So most times he would do, you would know, for as long as you're in school or for as long as you've gone to church, for as long as you're at home, you know, he's good. He's also naturally a quiet person. You find him at home reading the Bible, you know, he doesn't want noise. So if there's any slight noise, you're dead. So most times there was that distance. There was that distance. So when I was, so when I told my elder sister that I'm going to drop out, she's like, "You're dead." I told her yes. So so I come back at home. And I tell them I'm done with my internship. They're like, "Wow, that was quick." So my supervisor came. And it's done. I didn't tell him that I dropped out, and I'm also not going to continue with the remaining semester. So, so after that, I continued doing my jewelry business, knowing that in my head, I'm not going to graduate anyways. So, so towards, I think, 2 months to the graduation, I called my sister, you know. I'm staying at home with my dad, but I called my sister who is in Gulu. You know what? You tell dad, I am not going to graduate. So, so he's aware. So she tells him. So ask her, did you tell him? Then she says yes. I told her, but he's not saying anything to me at all. He's like, okay.
He's quiet. And you're not yet dead, meanwhile, eh?
No.
You're not yet dead.
Not yet. So every day I was anxious, you know, waiting. Maybe he's going to slap him, maybe he's going to do anything. But I tried so much to avoid him. If I'm like moving out, or if I hear he's moving out, you know, I get back to the bedroom, wait for him to move out. Then I also do the same. But having dinner like together as a family, he didn't say anything. So one day he wakes up furious and it's like, you know, I'm a disappointment. I dropped out of the university and look at what I'm doing and all those things. It's useless things. So so he told me I need to, you know, I need to either go back to the university and finish school, but him telling me to go back to the university and finish school, he told my sister to tell me so, because also me at home, I'm also a quiet person. So my sister told me, he said you should go back to school. So I told her, that is not possible. That is not something that I really want to do. So so we kept on having that conversation. He calls my sister calls me, you know.
But
like
you're
that.
home and
yes,
with him.
I'm home with him. Because I call her. Okay, that is still the same now. You know, sometimes I call my sister, it's like call Faith, and then I call him instead. So these days I don't call my sister, but I call him instead. And so after that, so when it was a challenge, he said he didn't want to be with school dropouts. So I should leave. So
how old were you at that point?
How old was I? Do I remember the age?
Third year must be about,
but that was in 2016. It was in 2016. I think I was 21.
Yeah, it must be about 21, 22 because you're about getting out 21. Of school, university.
Yes. So I move out. I continue with what I'm doing with the jewelry and recycling, and it was working out well. And then a friend sent me a message and said maybe I should learn more knowledge about entrepreneurship, so I can push my business to a bigger business. So yeah, so that's how in 2017, sorry, I joined the Social Innovation Academy.
And that's how the story of
this
entire Transform Africa started.
Yes.
Faith, I want you to hold it right there. We're going to take a coffee break. This is the CEO Bench. We're talking to the newest CEO, voted, even with the vote from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, somebody sent 2 nominations from there. We don't know why. And many people on Facebook. So if you voted Faith Aweko, we want to hear from you. What are the comments, kisses and disses? Is she doing a good job? You wanted to know the story. The CEO Bench exists to bring you this kind of stories so that you can learn a thing or two about the person and also how you can change your life going forward. We're going to go for a break, and when we come back, the interview with Faith Aweko will continue after this break.
My name is Dr. Jinpo Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent television. I love to inspire people. I love to talk about my experiences and how God has been able to use me in the different exposures. And through the leadership, through change management and transformation, I've been able to do a couple of things in my life. Now, are you a kind of person who is tired of your status quo? Do you want your situation to change? Are you tired of what is going on in your life? You know, change is a fact of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SIL Uganda on number 0772443085 or check our website www.siluganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Jinpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
Welcome back from the break. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila, and my guest this morning in the studio is Faith Aweko, who is the founder and the CEO of Transform Africa?
Reform Africa.
Reform Africa. Reform Africa. And Faith, let's pick it up from where we were. You were telling us about the personal journey of growing up in the Kampala suburb and the foray into Reform Africa. So you have communicated to your father, and the communication bit and the dynamics are very interesting of how you guys were communicating to your sister, to this and that. So let me ask you a question. That's pretty much about your growing up, and but I want to know from you, Faith. Growing up, what did you ever want to be in life? I'll take you back a little bit.
Okay.
As a child, yeah.
So growing up, I've always wanted to be a fashion designer. Yes.
And are you one now?
Yes.
So let's talk about what excites you as Faith Aweko into this journey where you are right now.
Okay, so what excites me is actually the moment I began doing social entrepreneurship, because that is something that I did not know about, is the moment I realized fulfillment in life, because knowing that the livelihood mostly of the people you work with, because we work with women in the communities who collect plastics, who sort, wash, and also we work with marginalized youths who we employ as tailors. So knowing that the livelihood of them depends entirely on you or on Reform Africa, that is where, that is what really gives me fulfillment.
Yes. And Faith, talking of that, while we're still on the personal questions of it, by the way, I just want to ask you a question about 2021. What is the best thing so far that's happened to you in 2021?
So in 2021, there are two things that happened to me. Focusing more on knowing myself, personal growth, and also really focusing on my fitness journey. I began it late last year, but this year, in January, I set up my fitness goals and realized I have to read a lot about fitness to better my knowledge, so I'm able to really transform into the person that I want to be.
Okay. And that said, most important thing that the people who nominated you would want to know is, before I take you to the leadership journey, is the story of where you ended up joining the social entrepreneurship class and stuff like that, and not going back to university. If you pick it up from there, what was the experience like when your father finally said, okay, I think I need to give up on this one, and then you ended up doing this other course where you went for? What was the experience like, and what did your father say to you?
So when I joined the Social Innovation Academy, I actually did not tell anyone except my siblings. I told them about what I'm doing currently with recycling, and how I've moved away from just making jewelry to now recycling plastic polythene. So they did not understand until I sent them samples, and they were excited. So after a while, I thought probably I would go home and show my dad what I do. But it wasn't a positive experience from him, because he really still, even after that, he told my sister, do you think she still has a chance to go back to school? Like, yes. So I thought maybe I disappointed him, but by then also I was still starting up the company, but I had hopes that it will be great. So I remember the first flight I took to represent from Africa. I did not tell them because I thought anyway, but my stepmom was very furious. She was angry. She's like, how would you not tell us?
So that we can come to the airport and
how would you not tell us?
The airport to see you go, because
how would you not tell us? So I told her I thought probably you guys were not happy with what I do. And then she told me, I'll always support you in any way. So there was also a time that my dad came to actually see what we do. Yes, he came with my sister, and he was very impressed. And also, when they get to see me on TV, on the newspaper, they're the first people who call me that we saw you on the newspaper. Or if I tell them the show is on TV, they keep calling me, what time is it again? We cannot see it, what time is it? So that really says that they are getting to understand what I do, but with also being able to help them financially, because at first my dad thought you know, this is just a small business that you would not be able to earn enough income, a living. So being able to see that I am sustaining myself, and I'm also able to sustain them as a family. So yeah, but still in his head, he still wants me to have a formal kind of education. Yes.
Wow. So let me just take you back, Faith. I think this is a very interesting, moment we're having on the CEO Bench today. And of course, I want to talk to all of you guys who are watching the CEO Bench from all across the world. I think this is a very fascinating story, personal journey so far being told by the person walking the journey, Faith Aweko, who is the founder and the CEO of Reform Africa, and recycling bags from the waste materials, things we throw away. And I think, let me tell you, Faith will be given an award for helping Kampala, because we really have quite a number of those in the city of Kampala. So we want to hear from you. If you have a comment, drop it up there, and we'll definitely be able to read it. And Faith, I'm very much interested in taking you back before we go into the leadership part of the show. Your dad told you to, get out of the home, and you go. So, how were you able to move out, and how long were you out of home without talking? We hear this story a lot from different people, and sometimes we don't understand how to go about it, and the reconciliation part of it, which we're definitely going to go into, the leadership, change management and transformation, and how you're able to lead yourself out of that, and the things that happen. But I want to know specifically, and of course to all our viewers all across the world, somebody could be going through the same thing and they don't know how to go about it. And perhaps their self-esteem is being put down very much, because the world says you must have a formal education. You don't have a formal education, but formal education often tends to kill creativity. And when a creative person is boxed, like in your case, you are able to get out, but there are people who are not able to get out of that situation. So I want to know this experience, that managing the relationship between your father, going out, home, what were you doing, where did you get the money, what happened?
So it wasn't actually an easy experience. Yeah. Because my dad is also a kind of person who tells you, I need you to leave home abruptly. There's no plan, and he can give you either a week or even a few days to just leave. Wow. So I realized once you also immerse in the pain, you would be miserable. So I realized that is something that has happened, so I have to move on. I had a few savings, but my siblings, my elder sister was there for me because I didn't have anything. So she sent me saucepans, she sent me a mattress, she sent me a blanket, she sent me almost everything I needed to start. And then she also gave me some money. And my brothers also did the same, and I also had my savings. So once I was able to pay for 3 months rent, so from day one, I started to work hard to really be able to, if it's like the 4th month, I have already the money for the rent. Wow. Yeah.
It's not very easy for girls, and I'm sure there's a girl outside there. Such situations are usually for boys. We're good. We can go out, we can bustle thing up, and do whatever we want to do. Boys are usually, but for girls, they're not quite a very easy journey. Yeah. So if you would just dive into it. As a girl, how did that make you feel?
So I had, I was renting next to my friend, so I had friends around who I would talk to, who would be there for me. But also I just realized, I have to focus my life, I have to focus on business. So I was very, I think that is also how my Facebook grew, because I tried as much as possible to sell things because I was only selling actually on Facebook, to sell my products on Facebook. So being busy also kept me going, to not really get to think a lot. But I'd also kind of like, after my sister sent me things, I also kind of cut off, family and communication. So I just, yes, because most times my sister's like, are you fine? Do you have money? So that was making me miserable most of the time. Yeah. So I just cut communication, and I just focus on working, because that is what kept me going.
Wow. Well, you're hearing the story coming from Faith Aweko right there, the story of personal resilience, if we would say it, and persistence and consistency in the process to be able to build, Reform Africa. We're going to take another break, and when we come back, Faith and I are going to dive straight into leadership. Leadership leadership is what everyone needs to go. And before you know it, if you don't have leadership, you're dead. If you have leadership, you succeed. We want to know from there whether Faith was being a leader, self-leadership. What are the tricks and intricate, stuff like that she was able to go through to get her to where she is, and to get her to where she had to, sort of like move out from that situation going forward. And this is what the CEO bench is here for. Stay right there. We'll be right back after the break.
There's a lot that is involved in the civil society organizations. There's leadership in itself, there's management of processes, there's management of the human resource, there's fundraising, there's research. It's a lot that needs to be done. And many times there is a feeling that is too much for a woman, because she has other traditional roles that she does at home. So many times as people are looking for leaders in civil society organizations, the priority is usually given to men, because of our society that feels that men have the time, men have the capacity, men have the ability to lead, to take this organization to greater heights. And women, there will be a problem. They will have to go to maternity leave. They have issues. They are too emotional. They have not done the courses that are good enough for leaders. They don't have time to go for extra learning, or to go for work outside Kampala, because they have to tend to their children. So there's too much that society has tied around a woman. And it's true, we have these traditional roles that we have to do, but does not in any way mean that women can.
Welcome back. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela. In the studio is Faith Aweko, a lady who sprang out of Naguru to the rest of the world, recycling, waste, plastic waste, and what we called kavera in Uganda, and making very beautiful stuff out of it, and selling us for use to make our livelihood really better. Faith, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Let's go straight to the leadership journey. Leadership requires that the person is aware of who they are. And self-leadership is key to come out from the situation where you are, where you're trying to say, Dad, I want to do this, and Dad is saying, no, daughter, I want to do this, and there's a crossroad. And we want to know from that point of view. Of course, self-leadership, we can see it, that you are doing a great thing by leading yourself, and you're pointing yourself and giving yourself meaning. I want to ask you a very simple question here on leadership. On the leadership, what is your understanding of leadership and the definition of leadership by Faith Aweko?
Okay, so leadership to me is being able to lead a group of people from one place to another, mostly like for me to make sure people are better versions of themselves from the time that I've met them and throughout the time that they are with me until the time that they are out of my reach.
Okay. On that note, Faith, who is a leader to you? Are you one? And if yes, what type of leader are you, given your journey?
So I am a leader because I lead a group of about 20 people. I'm one of like a coach kind of leader because I try as much as possible to see that people learn their potentials and they be the best versions of themselves, because sometimes we get women who you see potential in them, or also women who come like they really want to work as tailors, but then you realize they would actually be better in this kind of field, or in fusing the plastics. Yeah. Also, we find people who have no skill at all, but they come, hey, I want to wash plastics, but you tell them it will actually be better if you come and learn this kind of skill. And from there and then, we find that most people who are fusing our plastic bags also learn to tailor, and then now they are supervising other women. So that is the kind of leadership that that I portray, so that people can move from, you know, from the level they are to become better and better in what they do, or even get to do more.
Okay, so as a leadership coach, by definition, you are actually a transformative leader. A transformative leader is one who, you know, sees what it shall be like and works up to what is that needs to be done to get there. But also, transformative leadership approach focuses first on the human being as a person, which we can see in you, and then with the view of turning followers into leaders, and of course impacting their lives and making sure that they actually have something meaningful. So that's very good. So you're a transformative leader by nature, from what we see. That's a good one. So Faith, on that note, what is your understanding of leadership at the personal level, and of course at the family level, given the situation you've gone through with your dad and your family, at the society level, and of course as a corporation? Now you are building a corporation, you're building an organization that is reaching out to many people. It's already 20 people you're employing, meaning that those 20 people have got people who depend on them. So when we multiply the 20 people individually, the chain are reaching far more people than the 20 that you have at the moment. But we want to understand from you, what is your understanding of leadership? Personal leadership, you know, self-leadership, I mean family leadership, society leadership, and of course, you know, the organization.
Okay, so for me, it's thinking now less of yourself and thinking more of others, you know, to grow them, but also know that the decisions that we make don't only affect me as a person, but they're going to affect the organization as a whole. And also putting in accountability for every action that we make. You know, it's going to affect me, yes, but it's also going to affect generally the company, like for example, Reform Africa. So if there is any decision that I'm making, it doesn't have to be based on individual interests, but it has to be made based on my co-founders, based on our workers, based on their children. Like for example, if you are going to lay off some workers because of COVID, you know, do we just think of laying off the workers, or do we also think of their families or their children who have been dependent, you know, on their mother, like for the financial support in the family? Yes.
Wow. Well, we want to know from you, Faith, and of course not just you, Faith, but also everyone who is online. I mean, you've had Faith Aweko. I mean, that last part of the leadership question actually just blows somebody up. And there are 5 different types of leadership approaches that we have in the world, and I want you to vote for Faith Aweko right now and tell us which one is she using best and why, given the explanation on this part of the leadership approach and the leadership question. 1, there's what we called, you know, autocratic leadership approach. Is she an autocratic leadership approach? Do we understand what autocratic leadership approach is? And number 2 would be a transactional leader, or a transactional leadership approach. Okay, is Faith Aweko a transactional leadership approach? Is she, you know, a autocratic? And number 3 would be a democratic leader or leadership approach. Is she democratic? Is she applying the same approach to her leadership skills? And number 4 would be what we call a charismatic leader. Charismatic leader. Is she a charismatic leader? And if yes, does she use the, you know, the charismatic leadership approach in her day-to-day running of the business or leading herself. And number 5 would be transformative leadership approach. Is she a transformative leadership approach? Is that your view of her? We want to know from you. Please write us a comment down there, and of course make sure that we'll get back to you. I want to also inform all of you that the CEO Bench is doing a very special thing for the first time to Faith Aweko. That this particular interview is actually streaming on our own pages. One, on our Facebook page. She's live on our Facebook page, courtesy of House of Talent, and of course, streaming on the Reform Africa page. So please go there, share far and wide, and support the girl child, as we always say it. I know all the the women, all the people who support the women, the girls' rights are going to come and, you know, and say, you saw what they're doing when Kadaga was standing. Yes. So, but Faith, let's go back to the change management as part of our show. I'll ask you a question before we take another coffee break, just to go through this. So the CEO Bench is about leadership, change management, and transformation. Now, you had a journey before getting to where you are right now, and that journey requires you to go through as a child, you know, go through school, understanding yourself. Like you said, when we were young, there was mwala, you know, how do you call it? That's what they call it. That waste stuff in the trenches everywhere, water would flood, come, you will clean. As a child, you didn't understand. But when you reach a certain point, you began to understand what it was. Now, senior 4, you said, I started to see that actually there's a problem here. We're just not being organized. Cases say, we take this, for us, we wait for it when the rain comes. And then later on, when you get to university, says, you know what? I'm certainly not going to do statistics and finish. Whoever want to drop out of a statistics class? You could have been at the statistics house. You could have been a minister of finance. Your father had big dreams of seeing you as a minister in the government of Uganda, or working for you and working for. Now it makes sense when somebody from IMF votes you to come on the CEO Bench to hear your story. Because I was trying to make waste management and IMF, this money and this, it doesn't make sense. So perhaps it does begin to make sense. But so we're going to go into that change management. What is your understanding of change management?
So change is moving away from the position that you are right now to something else, like maybe also shifting from one place to another, or yeah, so change is something broad, but moving from where you are right now into a better position.
Wow, that's your understanding of change. Okay, I want to just say this, Faith. If that is your understanding of change, how were you able to communicate the change that happened in your life, both from your, you know, sister before you decided that you're going to turn around your life? Did you think through the process? What were your strategies to communicate that, you know, guys, I'm stopping here, I'm not going to continue with this? Because there's also another person who is going through the same thing, who doesn't know how to go about it, and they want to learn from you. Number 2, we want you to tell us, how were you able to manage that change between you and your father and your mother and your siblings? That's managing change. That's not a very simple change. You said that it's very difficult to deal with. How were you able to do so?
So as humans, I think change is inevitable because life gives us change in many ways. Also, like during this COVID, people have had to change how they lived their lives to adapt to the situation. So most times also when change is calling us and we don't change, we remain in more of like a pain, because we are not trying to adapt to the new life that is calling us. So most times also, like for me, when things weren't working out the way that I wanted them to be, and I wasn't being who I was then, so I realized I have to change in order to be the person that I'm destined to be. Yeah. But so managing it with with myself wasn't also easy, because I also did not actually know what I was doing. I did not know who I was, or if actually what I'm doing is wrong or right. Because also now people are used to you in this kind of way. So if you're changing, mostly like the friends at the university, you know, it was different because most of them are like, you should not really drop out of school. Business is not easy. So I had to also try and cut them because they knew me. They were not serving the new person that I was becoming. And also they were not trying to understand me. So also in change, I realized I have to cut some people off so I can concentrate to being the better version of myself and also be able to really understand the kind of person that I am becoming. Maybe it's also going to need new environment. Like when I went to Sina, I realized, you know, this is where I am meant to be. And the community around were the same people, refugees, former street children who are trying to transform their lives. So also that community helped me a lot to understand who I was as a person, because also as a leader, if you don't know yourself, then it is hard to really lead other people. So that being able to surround myself with the people who are going through the same life changes or experiences as me made me actually find purpose in life.
Wow. Faith, change always can be difficult, and people can find it as something very challenging in life, and in most cases some people can take a wrong turn, and sometimes realizing that you need to make a certain decision that is good, that is not going to affect many people, are also quite a challenge. I want you to dig deep a little bit more onto that part when you had to make a decision to cut your family off, and for some time, how long, why did you arrive at that position of, I need myself, I need to cut these people off, and how were you going to get back to them?
Like I was in a confusion state, and the more people call, the more people talk to you, the more advices you get, you just, you know, like it confuses you more and more. So I wanted to just concentrate, you know, but also with that, I was praying every day to God to really redirect my life and to really, so with prayer, that helped me a lot, but being in the environment, in the right environment that I was in PG, also gave me a clue that, you know, I am getting to where I want to be, or I am right here in this situation or in this place because I am meant to be. So when I cut off my family, after that, so I remember one time my my stepmom called me, and she's like, it's better, you know, you start coming home and tell me what you are doing and all those things. So the first time I came home was when my sister was going to have a kuchala.
Yes, how long was that? What was the period before you could return home?
I left home in 2016, and I came back home in 2017.
Those were 2 years. 1 year?
1 year.
Yeah, 1 year, 1 year,
yes. It was after a year.
Yeah.
Yes, so...
Of no talk, nothing, just quiet.
Yes, but when I came home also, it was I was a transformed person because my stepmom told me, okay, so I really think you've changed a lot, and that was something that I wanted to hear, you know, from people. And when I met a few friends from campus, it was still the same. But when they're also seeing what I was doing, they were happy with what I'm doing. So that also gave me hopes.
Okay. You know, it's something that we need to talk about here, Faith. I see the great work, but I want to just take you back to that change a little bit. I'm your friend, and you're going to have to tell me that you're making a decision not to talk to me. How do you communicate to Eddie Okela and say, you know what, Eddie, I just need myself, I need to be me, I need to do me, and first give me some time. How do you communicate to Eddie Okela or to your friends, or to and how do they take that information in? Do they take it in good light? I mean, what was their, how were you able to communicate that? Because I need the intricate details of that communication, because it's key to helping somebody who is out there move from one point to the next. Yes. How were you able to tell your friend like Eddie Okela that, hey, you know what, I need some space? Because it's not easy to communicate that I'm changing, and then you come back when you're totally changed and everybody's saying, hey, I think you've changed. did you communicate? How were you able to communicate that very complicated communication of, please give me some time? Some people will say, you feel you're proud. Some people will say, I think she's depressed. Some people will say, I think she's running cuckoos, she's running mad because you're withdrawing from people. How do you communicate that kind of change? How were you able to communicate it in your case?
Okay, so with my friends, it was easier by just doing by just cutting myself off of what we used to do, maybe hang out with friends. You know, every time they call you, you tell them you would not like. So many times if friends call you many times and you're turning them down, they also just ghost out on you. So that was easier for them, but others also automatically, since I am not, you know, pursuing statistics, if I am not like on the journey into the professional world, they just cut you off.
Yes.
So with family, it was a little bit difficult, mostly with my siblings, because we were united, but I felt like I needed to just be me. So I just told them I just need time off. Or most times, you know, I kind of also changed my phone number and I would call them.
Yeah.
Like my sister, my younger sister, I told her, let me be the one to be calling you. Just don't call me, let me be the one to be calling you. But that also meant I wasn't going to call her.
Yeah.
Yes. So yes.
Yeah.
But I just also communicated to them the situation that I'm in. Me, myself, I also do not understand. But I am very sure that, you know, things are going to get clear, you know, day by day. Yeah, because most times you also do not identify yourself at that certain period of time.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you need therapy or if you're running crazy or so yeah. So most times it's difficult, but with time, when you're on that personal growth journey, then you're able to identify and get to know yourself better. And then when you come out as the better version of yourself, then people would actually see. I think it was actually great that, you know, that she went to Mpiji. It was great that she took on this journey because the faith that we used to know wasn't actually serving her purpose anyways. Yeah.
Wow. Well, we're talking about change management on the CEO bench, and my guest this morning, or my guest this afternoon, or this night, or this evening, depending on which part of the world you are, is Faith Aweko. She's a girl who started out as, you know, thinking that I'm a creative mind, and so I need to be in a creative space. But yet, you know, the world says, no, 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 no. You are supposed to be statisticians, that's how they call them. Yes, and go into statistics, study statistics, and, you know, become this person, and, you know, in a formal way. But that wasn't. So she's talking about the change management from that point, the foray into where she is right now, which is not a very simple journey. We want to hear from you. Do you have an experience like Faith? Are you learning something from Faith? The CEO bench exists to bring you intellectual rigor, fusing it with the common challenges of life every single day, so that you can be a person of you know, great repute, moving up. The challenges that you'll face will take you forward. So the CEO bench is here to bring you such stories, and today Faith Aweko is the person on the bench. Faith, we're going to take a break, but before we go for that break, I want to ask you one more question. Many people who go through what you're going through as CEOs and going forward, some people end up in drugs, others end up, you know, using substance, abusing substance, and so many things. Would you just share quickly how were you able to safeguard yourself away from it? Others have ended up into the, you know, for girls, the old trade, as we say in the holy books. I'm sure you know the trade I'm talking about. Some have gone into that road and ended up in prostitution, and some people have taken advantage of them as girls. We hear some horrendous stories when something like that happened to girls. But here you are, and the story seems to be different. Were you able to keep yourself away from all of these troubles that were competing for your mind, and yet still, you know, steer clear?
Okay, so one thing, actually two things. One, I didn't want to be laughed at. So most times when you are moving on a self-growth journey, and then you back off, people will be like, we told you, all those things. So I didn't want to have that, to be a loser. But also, I really thought, you know, I have come far. throughout school, I've always wanted to be this. So I didn't want to give up. So giving up wasn't an option. I didn't want to reach an extent and I'm like, I give up. Yet this is something that I've always wanted to really do ever since I was a child. So I'm like, you know, there's no giving up. And then, you know, I don't want my fellow classmates to laugh at me that I dropped out of the university, my business has failed, and I'm now a failure.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll dive into our last part of the show, which is transformation. Faith Aweko, Edio Killer, right here on the CEO bench. If you have not picked a word or two from Faith to help you, perhaps you need to go back, play the video again, think through it, and think through your life and see which part of this interview is actually very important for you. Faith and I are going to be back after this break. This is the CEO bench.
Even people are stuck in their own ways. For people who have had a chance to, say, work out of the country, you're dealing with people from different backgrounds, different cultures. Their view of the world is different. You know, you cannot change that. The best you can do is get into that space and find a way of navigating through that. So I don't believe that what I've learned necessarily is going to go into, say, a big organization like Stanbic and change it. If it might guide me along the way in terms of how to navigate, in terms of how to influence the leaders of that organization, but not necessarily kick the front door and change everything. In fact, I think that's disastrous because you might just end up going backwards. So I think for me is allow yourself to learn from the environment and then adapt and change from within.
A lot of time we see people, Daniel, who go into organization and just start changing, and you find people flying from this organization to another and says, man, the new boss was come, I can't stay there. And this happened. Is it they themselves who are a problem, those who are running away, or actually the bosses come and want to change everything? Have you ever been in an organization and people have viewed you like that? And if yes, how were you able to deal with it? If not, had you learned these tricks before going inside there so that when you arrived, you are more warmer to people than more, you know, cold to other people?
Yeah, I think in most cases where, and we've seen this, even in Uganda, where a CEO comes and tries to change everything overnight and the organization suffers. You lose your talent, the good people leave the company, they go to other organizations, you know, your numbers start going down. It's a no-brainer. The good ones are the ones who quickly realize, oh, this is different, I need to adapt. I mean, I always hear people who have worked in Tanzania. Tanzanians are different. The way they do things at their pace and how they
shift and move things,
relate among each other is very different. So if you come with your speed and you know, and forcefulness, you'll get a culture shock. They'll edge you out slowly in their nice way. Before you know it, you've left the company. You know, I remember earlier back in our breweries, we had similar people who used to come from South Africa at the time. Because Africa is obviously very fast-paced. It's about push, push, push. And a lot of them suffered. In fact, a time came when they said, you know what, this thing is not working. Let's empower now Ugandans. That's how you guys came through.
The CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okela. Faith Aweko. Faith, welcome back from that break. I want to take you straight to transformation. What does transformation mean to you? I will explain transformation in a very simple way. You know, you've been doing a lot of work, and the work you've been doing is leading to transformation. You yourself, you said you've transformed. But what is transformation to you?
Okay, so transformation is changing from who you thought, like for example, from who I thought I was or who I was before to a better version, or to actually a more defined version of myself.
Yeah. And in that context, we want to dive straight away to the work you've been doing. Tell us more about, you know, Reform Africa. Why Reform Africa? What is the inspiration behind the name, and what is it doing? Where is it leading us? You founded it, you're the CEO, you got a huge nomination towards this. Obviously, you are a lady on a journey to some greatness in future.
So when we were beginning, I shared a little bit of a story of the background of Reform Africa. But Reform Africa is a social business in Uganda here that upcycles plastic polythene waste bags into durable, sustainable, and waterproof bags and accessories. So like I said, I grew up from one of the slum areas in Uganda, that is Naguru Go Down. And I was very greatly affected by plastic pollution as a kid, because when it rains, my family and the whole neighborhood would think of disposing of waste in the trenches, and this blocked the trenches, and this was the major cause of flooding. And so as I grew up, I thought, why wouldn't I work on something on the flooding and the waste pollution in the slum areas? So Reform Africa began basically as a research in 2018 to see how waste is produced, how waste is polluted, and how waste is recycled in Uganda. And in Uganda, we produce over 500 tons of plastic waste every day, and 51% of this waste is not collected.
Wow.
And yes, 51%, and this is the waste that ends in the trenches, in the open places. When we are traveling, we are throwing it on the roadsides, and also in the rural areas.
You always see people just, you know, jump off their, you know, windows or their vehicles and just throw it, but the borders drink and throw it,
And in the rural areas, plastic is left to decompose on its own, yet plastic takes more than 1,000 years to really fully decompose. Holes are dug, and all trash is powered, then it's buried. So that is what we think, you know, that waste is gone, yes. But this is taking 1,000 years. Now in Kampala, the highly, one of the high causes of air pollution is burning of waste. And with this, we are also burning plastic. And this is causing toxic fumes in the environment. So when we did research on the causes of plastic pollution, and when we went to the solutions, we realized Uganda, we recycle less than 1% of our waste, yet we are producing over 500 tons. And this is also just plastic, like the plastic bottles that are just collected, shredded, and shipped to either China or India. So our recycling capacity in Uganda is very low, and we also realized there is really no solutions, or a few solutions for the plastic bags, the caveras. Yet these are the ones that are blocking the trenches. And also these are the ones, like Uganda, we are highly agricultural. But when these plastic bags come in contact with our agricultural soils, they don't allow water filtration in the soil. So that means also there is low produce or low quality of produce. So we started to research more on plastic bags with zero experience, because we all come from different backgrounds.
How many are you, by the way?
I can share about my co-founders. I have two co-founders. One is a refugee from DRC Congo, from Nachiva refugee camp. In DRC, it's really worse than Uganda, because anywhere that is an open place is where waste is, you know, dumped. And in the refugee camp, it's still the same. So another one is Nalima Shamim from Bwaise. We all know Bwaise is one of the highly flooded areas in Uganda. But also the trenches, you find plastics all over. When it finishes, when the rain is done, you see that plastic is lit like plastics bottles are floating, you know, they are floating. So, and this is the plastic that is thrown in the trenches, but as well as plastic that we throw on the roadsides, because when it rains, the water brings it all to us.
So is that what the ladies are collecting that we're seeing on the screen?
So yes, so the ladies collect plastic bags. Those are caveras.
Is that you, by the way?
Yes.
Okay,
That is me, and those are one of the two ladies who wash.
You. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Go on.
So yeah, so we basically started to really do research on plastic bags, how we can recycle, and how we didn't have the idea of the bags in our minds. But when we were in PG doing research, we discovered kids in PG walk long distances to go to school. And with the unforeseen rainy seasons, you find the rain is going to hit them. Some of them have their books in their hands, and others have the books in the Kavera plastic bags. When we interviewed one of their parents, they said that they can afford to buy a Kavera of 100 shillings or 200 every day for a kid. But they aren't able to afford to buy a bag of 20 or 30k. Because having 20k or 30k once is expensive. But them having 100 shillings or 200 to buy a plastic bag is cheap. But yet at the end of it all, at the end of the day, either the plastic bag is torn because it is very light, or the kid has just lost it. So that's also what's causing pollution. But at the end of it all, the mother is spending actually more money because a term has 3 months. That is about 80 to 90,000 every term for plastic bags. So we thought if we'd make a bag for the kids to have their books safely, because also our bags are actually waterproof, so the kids can also walk through the rain and go to school without their books getting wet. But at the same time, we wanted to provide dignity for the kids to have their bags, their books in the bags. Yeah, that's how we drew down to
So
make
that's
bags.
actually one of your products we're seeing on the screen?
Yes.
All right, so how much do they go for?
So we make backpacks. Backpacks, people can also use them to have like your laptop.
For example, like
and
that
come
one,
to and come to work. That one is 60,000.
Is it a backpack? Is that
Yes, that's a backpack. It's a space for a laptop, and it's mostly actually used by tourists because they get to travel, and you have your camera, your phone, all safe in case you're going to Bwindi and it's raining. You don't have to worry
Because it's made out of the recycled bag. And then those ones?
Those ones are cross bags. Yes. We also make school bags for the kids, and for every backpack that you buy, we give out one free school bag for a rural kid in Uganda. But we also work with organizations and NGOs that support production of also bags that we donate. Last year, between November, December, and January, we donated 1,000 bags in the refugee camp with support from UNFPA. They funded the production and distribution of the bags. Yeah, to Shakatu refugee camp.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that's the story of Faith Aweko right there, our CEO on the CEO bench today. And of course, we want to say thank you very much for being part of the show. Faith, just before we wind up the show, I want to just take you through some very interesting experiences that I see you've gotten here. And I want to go to the awards. What was it like when you were announced as the award winner? That day, and they said, Faith, you are the winner of this award, and going back to where the journey started and your dad, did you announce this to your parents?
No, I didn't. Yes, I didn't announce. So the first award that we got was Social Impact Award. Yes, Social Impact Award happens every year. It's global. It happens every year. And in Africa, it happens in Uganda. So we were the winners of Social Impact Award. Most of the awards we've actually got has been funding, financial support. So that has helped also boost us as a company, more especially also during this COVID, that we are able to pay rent and we're able to